I am excited. We are back with another episode number 51, Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Sean Holko, alongside my guys, Kevin Dent, Jaevon Toddy, Gary Singh. And fellas, joining us on this very special episode is an awesome guy, none other than Mr. Damien Barling of D-Lo and KC on ESPN 1320. Let's just give him a round of applause real quickly.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you, man.
Likewise.
We appreciate you for joining us today, Damien. And on today's show, we got to talk about the big news in college football. Usually we start the show off talking about the NFL, but week number 2 in the NFL has not ended yet, but the show must go on. It's past 8:30, so here we are. And we also want to be gracious of Damien's time as well. And so let's just get things started, fellas, and let's get right into college football. And for us here in Sacramento, the story of the weekend being Sac State went down to the farm at Stanford and they won 30-23. That's the official name, the farm at Stanford. And fun fact, they aren't the Cardinals. They are the Cardinal, singular. And so anyways, Damien, I know you talked about it on today's episode of D-Lo and KC on ESPN 1320, but just what was your initial reaction to Sac State pulling off the upset?
Oh, it was something that we thought they were capable of. Like, that was what was really exciting about it. Like, Stanford's kind of in this weird place right now. Obviously, our man, Coach Troy Taylor, taking over that program. It's tough to walk in and kind of get everything moving. That program was going in a different direction with, Coach Davis Shaw, and, NILs are kind of changing the outlook on Stanford. And Stanford's still Stanford. It's class first. It's degree first. It's education first.
ACC now.
Yeah, they're that too. And they're not thinking about NIL dollars the way some of these other schools are. So you knew that they were kind of in a place to transition. And, knowing what Coach Andy Thompson has here in Sacramento, knowing that group, we talked to Coach Thompson last week, and, we were, Coach, go. We love Troy Taylor. Go beat his ass. Like, this squad is good enough, man. Go down there and beat his ass. And they kind of laughed at that. And I thought they were really good. Yeah, obviously they weren't dominant. Like, this was a close game. But I felt, and, we talked about this extensively on D-Lo and KC, that Sac State was better. Sac State was a better school. It wasn't a win that they fell into. It wasn't a game they lucked into. It was like they were better than Stanford, and they beat them.
Without a doubt. And my guy, Gary, you, along with myself, are a Sac State alum, Stingers up. And so for you, Gary, how were you feeling this weekend? Were you like our guy, Jesse, on ESPN 1320 saying, we want Bama? Or were you just excited about Sac State knocking off a Power 5 team?
That's exactly right, Sean. To be honest, I obviously didn't get to catch this game because I was at work. But to be honest, I was happy that, that we're still keeping that trending forward. Because obviously when me and Sean went to Sac State, it wasn't the best football that we were watching. So just to see that Troy Taylor and this football program, going forward, now the new regime coming in and keeping that steady rise for this program is really good to see. So I'm just proud to be still a Sac State alumni and still seeing our team do good. That's just going to be more it's going to bring more of atmosphere like we seen last year with this team that was really crazy and brought the city together to come out to games and things of that nature. So to see that keep on the horizon and keep pushing forward, I think that's really a proud moment for us as Sac State alumni. And like D-Lo just said, we just didn't stumble into this win now. We were controlling this game, and we had some great magical play right there at the end to cap it off. So I think we deserved it, and it's great to see that Sac State is still on the rise in football.
And Kevin, you went to an Oregon State football game this weekend, but you're always going to be a 916er for life. And so what did you think about the Hornets, your guy Manny's team, knocking off Stanford?
Definitely, man. Just like Gary and Sean, man, I sat in a lot of those games, a lot of those bleachers, and that Sac State wasn't good. When Manny was in school, I would always go support Manny, but everyone's talking in the bleachers about what's the move after the game, where we're going to eat, what's the party. But just to talk about the change that Sac State's done in the past couple of years, I'm hella excited to say that Sacramento beat a Power 5. I was talking to my barber actually about how the disrespect on FBS schools, like there's some schools that can go up there and beat them. Like every top 25 school, I'm not saying we can beat them, but North Dakota State can go up against some of the best. Sac State can go up against some of the best and beat them. don't let, like Shador said with TC, don't let that big Power 5 name kind of fool you.
Like Shador
Talent is
said.
talent. Hey, man. You lucky I don't got it on my right hand, but hey, huge shout out to Sac State, man, and I'm excited to see what's coming.
Shaun.
Toddy, what did you think about Sac State knocking off Stanford? Because obviously you're a USC fan, sometimes a delusional USC fan. However, the Cardinal, they seem like the worst team in the soon-to-be extinct Pac-12.
Yeah, it was a great play, very heads-up play by the quarterback, and running back on the scoring touchdown drive that kind of changed everything. It was pretty crazy, but for Coach Taylor to be taking over at Stanford and them kind of being in a transitional period, and then Sac State kind of getting them while they were weak basically, and Coach Taylor was sent there to kind of go there and rebuild, and he's in that rebuilding process. So Sac State kind of caught them while they were sleeping, and they got a big win against a future ACC team.
They definitely did. And for myself as a Sac State alumni, I mean, I tweeted this out after the game. Thank you to Troy Taylor for building Sac State into a powerhouse, because as Kevin said, when I went there, when Gary went there, and our friend Manny Anderson, who played on the football team, when we were all there, Sac State, they were just trying to make the playoffs. And now they are truly a contender. I'd like to see them go deep in the FCS playoffs now that they are solidified and here to stay. But thank you to Troy Taylor for building Sac State into a powerhouse. And thank you to Coach Andy Thompson and his staff for helping, or not helping, but sustaining that success, because it just makes me so proud as a Sac State alumni. And there's that cheesy Kings hashtag Sacramento proud, but it truly does make me Sacramento proud. And so, D'Lo, I want to get back to you next on this next game, because Coach Prime, he didn't let the haters get to him. He didn't let the slow starts of the game get to him. And CU ultimately beats Colorado State 43-35 in 2 overtimes. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, that's the story in all of sports right now, man. Hopefully Shador can go coach or can go quarterback this sorry-ass Cleveland Browns team, man, because Deshaun Watson is awful. I'm sorry. I was watching the end of that game, man. I can't believe I bought into that team this year. Deshaun stinks, dude. He's like frustratingly bad right now.
Oh my God,
but
it's so frustratingly bad.
To your question about Colorado, like that's one of the biggest stories in all of sports right now, and it's different. It's exciting. I mean, Deion has always been a guy. Coach Prime has always been a guy that's commanded attention, regardless of what he does. He commanded attention. When he was at Florida State, he commanded attention. When he was with the Atlanta Falcons, he commanded attention. When he played for the Atlanta Braves and the Atlanta Falcons, he commanded attention. When he played for them both on the same day. Like, that dude has been a magnet for attention his entire career. He did it when he was a broadcaster, and he's doing it now that he's a coach. He did it when he was at Jackson State, and he's doing it here at Colorado. He's been one of my favorite athletes for a long time. So to watch this story kind of unfold the way it has, knowing it has a shelf life. So being able to enjoy it these last 3 weeks is pretty awesome. They obviously got a tough match against Oregon coming up. They got a tough game against Oregon coming up this weekend. USC is right around the corner. Those are going to be really, if this thing managed to continue through into that USC game, it's going to be crazy. Like Oregon, I think most people expect them to lose to Oregon as they should. But if they somehow sneak one more and get past Oregon and head into that USC game with 2 undefeateds right there, that's going to be crazy. And even if they don't, it's a great story what Deion Sanders is doing at Colorado. It's a great story for college football. It's a great story for the culture. It's a great story for recruiting. Like I'm loving watching this thing unfold. I'm loving how many, casual eyes it's bringing to college college football. And I'm loving how much people are invested in this Colorado Buffalo story with Deion Sanders and Shador Sanders as well.
Well, real quick, Damien, before I toss it over to Jaevon, let's spin it forward. Let's look ahead to that Oregon game. Are you a believer that they could actually beat Oregon? And I think it's on the road in Eugene. Do you think that could actually happen, or are you kind of with the majority there?
No, why couldn't it? Yeah, what reason can it happen? Like, Oregon's probably better. Oregon's not probably better. Oregon is a better football program right now. I mean, Deion is 4 games into this thing, but I'm not going to tell Deion Sanders in the Colorado Buffaloes that they can't win. Absolutely not. Like, I don't think they're going undefeated. I don't think they're winning the national championship. I don't think they're beating, Georgia and Michigan and Ohio State and all of those teams up there. I'm going to enjoy this first. I'm going to enjoy watching Colorado all season. I'm going to enjoy this story in terms of its kind of mainstream run for as long as it lasts. Now, I don't know how many losses it takes before it truly dies down. But again, these 2 weeks are tough. I think they could beat Oregon. Am I betting on it? I'm not going to bet on them beating Oregon, but I'm not going to bet against them at any point this season either.
Well, Jaevon is the betting man on this podcast. So not only how do you feel about the double overtime win for the Buffs, but are you going to bet on CU to beat Oregon, Jaevon?
By the way, Hotline went 3-1 this week. You guys might have won a little bit of money. I mean, just going back to the game, we were watching Colorado State, Colorado at 10 o'clock at night. There are people, East Coasters. As Damien already said, I mean, he's bringing the culture to Colorado. Like, you're seeing, Cam runs on the sideline. Kawhi Leonard was at the game. Kawhi Leonard was at the football game.
He don't even show up to his own games.
Like, if you
damn,
we saw,
sir,
we saw Chauncey Billups was at the game. Kyle Lowry was at the game. Offset was at the game. Like, everybody.
Yo, Lil Wayne brought him out. The Rock
like,
gave a pep talk. Like, that's crazy.
This is masterful recruiting, by the way. Like, where else are you going to see like anybody that, hey, like even at Georgia or Alabama, like, yeah, we got Lil Wayne walking us out. We got Key Glock performing in the locker room after the game, after we won. So it's just like the little things that Deion brings just to the whole, like, he's changing the whole like city, like the whole, everything is being changed. And that's the prime effect. And that's one of one. Nobody else can do that besides Deion Sanders.
Wait till he gets Megan Thee Stallion to bring him out. Yo, that's you talking about.
Man.
This is game 3. This is game 3.
Yeah.
So I mean, they haven't even played. They haven't really dove into Pac-12 play yet. And as Shaun was already saying, spinning it forward, going to the Oregon game, they're plus 21. So Vegas is saying they're going to lose by 3 touchdowns,
which is
and
insane.
the last time we saw that happen, which was game 1 against TCU, and they ended up winning that game. So when I bet on Prime this year, I have not lost. So I didn't gamble this week.
Never lost.
They were too high of a favorite. I thought they were going to win, but I didn't know if they were going to win by 23 or 24 points. So it's going to be a lot tougher now that we found out the news about Travis Hunter being out for at least 3 weeks. So he's going to be expected to miss this game. Now, let's just look at advantages. How much better is the Oregon defense than Colorado? Probably slightly better, I would say. They had some time. The game I kind of look at for Oregon is the Texas Tech game. I gambled on that game as well. So I saw like a lot of deficiencies, them being able to not really defend running quarterbacks. So they had some struggles with that. I do think Colorado has the quarterback advantage. I would take Shedeur Sanders over Bo Nix, in my opinion. That might be crazy to some people, but I just think Shedeur is the better talent. I think just overall on the defensive front, probably the defensive back end, you could say that Oregon is better. But I feel like it's a lot closer than a lot of people think. I don't know if Colorado wins. I feel like the game is going to be close, but I don't think that it's going to be like they get blown out by 3 touchdowns. Although they are on the road, they have won. They're undefeated on the road, as the record may show. But I think the game will be a lot closer than it shows. I don't know. This is a top I think Oregon's like 10th now, so it's obviously ranked. The Pac-12 is arguably probably the best conference in its last year. I don't know how good the SEC is this year, but I think the Pac-12 has probably shown that could be the best year. Yeah. Ohio State, Big Ten. There's 3 teams in that league. We have like 5 or 6.
Read my mind, Shaun.
I think we have like 5 top 25 teams in our conference as of right now. Our conference being USC, our conference. I just think that this game in general is going to come down to how many possessions can Colorado have, and can they stop the run, because they haven't really been able to do that well this year. So I think Colorado loses, but I don't think it'll be by 3 touchdowns. So bring a little sprinkle for the Hotline later.
Well, Kevin, you are the Oregon resident on this podcast, and so I don't know if you're going to go down to Eugene for the game, but do you want to touch up on the Ducks game, or even as Toddy mentioned, and I had a pretty busy day, so forgive me if this information is wrong and I listened to the wrong guy, but the first thing I saw this morning was that Skip Bayless said that Travis Hunter had a liver laceration. Is that confirmed that that's actually what it was? Okay. At least he did some Big J journalist reporting there. And it was after a dirty hit during that CSU game. And so that was definitely disappointing. And the Buffs are the fourth team in FBS history to start 3-0 after 11 losses the previous season. And so, Kevin, how do you feel about this upcoming Ducks game?
Hey, man, Colorado's going to go into Eugene and get the W. Guaranteed. And let me tell you why. Shedeur Sanders is the man. Toddy, I know you think the Heisman resigns in L.A., but I think it's on the way to Boulder. Shedeur Sanders is the clutchest player in college football. In fourth quarter, 84% completion rate, 26 of 31, 450 yards, 14.6 yards per attempt, and 5 touchdowns. He leads all quarterback in every category in the fourth quarter. He is the clutchest quarterback in college football. It's the Deion Sanders effect. He is prime time. Travis Hunter goes down. Everyone's sitting there wondering, what are they going to do? I don't know if you guys tuned into every episode, but a couple weeks ago, Toddy mentioned this guy, this big-time guy, this 5-star recruit, Kwamani McLean. So let me tell you guys a little bit about him. He's going to step in and fill these Travis Hunter shoes. Preseason All-American, 5-star, Freshman of the Year watch list, preseason true freshman All-American. They're not going to miss a beat. Shedeur Sanders is going to go in here and lead this team on the road. They have weapons on weapons. So, yes, Travis Hunter's not going to be there, but they have the players to fill their roles. And like Toddy said, I think Bo Nix is not going to be the best quarterback on the field, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day is who has the better quarterback, and I'm going to rock with Colorado any and every day.
They're going to have to protect Shedeur, though. He's been taking a lot of sacks lately. I think Oregon's defensive front is pretty stout, so I feel like if they give Shedeur enough time to be able to throw the ball, then they'll be able to be in the game.
Well, that's the thing that's really interesting too. And we're talking so much about Shedeur. Let's give a shout out to Shiloh as well, because he had an impact in that Colorado State game. And we even saw, I don't know if the rest of you guys saw, but I had to look it up on YouTube because I didn't want to have to tune in. I don't have cable, so I didn't want to tune in on CBS.com. But Deion Sanders was featured on 60 Minutes for the second time in 2 seasons. And they opened the program by saying, we usually don't profile the same subject 2 times in 2 seasons or even 2 times in 10 years. But Deion Sanders is that guy, and there's a reason for it. And so, Gary, I want to ask you more so just about the prime effect. How are you feeling overall about Colorado's outlook for the rest of the season? Because, as I mentioned, they're 3-0, and they're the 4th team to ever be 3-0 after losing 11 games the previous season. And it's definitely not the same team, not the same coach. Prime came in there, and he said, if you're not built to be with us, transfer. And there was like 50 guys who transferred. And so what do you think overall, Gary, about the program?
I think the main takeaway that I was seeing from this game and seen so far from the season, what you guys basically said was that no one can do what Deion does. No one can do what Primetime does. If you think you can try to do this somewhere else, that you like D'Lo mentioned, Jaevon mentioned, and Kev mentioned, that, when there's somebody special who's been special their whole life and been doing it their whole life, it's really hard to stop and recreate. So I think I'm on D'Lo's bandwagon of just, I'm going to ride it out. Love to see them in the spotlight. You guys know I don't watch too much college football. So he's been bringing my eyes to every game and watching this 4th quarter. And it was crazy to see that even though it was a 20-point, like the betting odds were towards obviously Colorado winning big time. But I like to see the poise of Shedeur. I like to see the 4th quarter clutchness. I like to see the backs against the wall and show out and show up. So I'm going to take them next week against Oregon just to go ride with the bandwagon here and just keep it rolling.
All right. It'll be interesting for sure. And Kevin, I'm sure you might want to talk about the Ohio State University. Jaevon, you might want to talk about your guys at USC. And so, Kevin, I'm going to toss it to you first. Is there any other games from college football this past weekend that you want to get into before we move on?
Man, thanks for throwing that lob off the backboard for me. So, D'Lo, I'm going to give you an insight to the group chat we do every episode. From week 1, Toddy's been, I don't know about Kyle McCord, man. I haven't seen it. You guys haven't done anything for me. You guys aren't putting 60 on teams that you should be. So what do we do against Western Kentucky, Toddy? Smack your lips if you want to. 63-10. Kyle McCord. You wanted to see him throw the long ball? He did it. 19 of 23, 318 yards for 3 touchdowns, and our backup went in there and threw some touchdowns. So we would have kept Colin McCord in there the whole night. It would have been a show. But I just wanted to throw some Ohio State love because the man at the bottom of the screen has been throwing a lot of hate our way, saying
they're going to get tested
is the
on
better
Saturday.
quarterback
Best
who almost lost on Saturday. Michigan, who struggled. So there's a lot of hate going around, and Toddy's like, who's going to be the guy? And he's the guy who's trolling me and Shaun, and 3-0, baby. Still ranked above USC. So
they traveled to South Bend on Saturday, so good luck with that.
I know you recall my wedding, Toddy. Who won that game last year?
Oh no,
Okay.
I bet on you guys last year because I do.
And you're gonna bet on us Saturday. So what are you really saying?
Just know Ohio State is on the hotline. They will be on the hotline this week.
Wise choice.
But I just think this past weekend kind of showed it wasn't really a great slate of games. There were a lot of kind of just like, all right, like this team could be tested by this team, but they shouldn't win. Like Tennessee ended up falling to Florida. Joe Miller didn't look too great. Wondering if they're going to go to their freshman, Nico. I can't really pronounce his last name, but he's going to be the truth. USC didn't play this week. There wasn't really the games, like the real deal, like college football starts to heat up this weekend. There's a great slate of games and a couple of features on the hotline that there will be. So I'm very excited for this weekend because this past weekend you kind of had to get through. K-State did lose to Missouri off of a 61-yard field goal made by a 300-pound kicker. I cannot believe what's going on. Like how it ended, it was insane. But yeah, this weekend will be a great slate of games.
And we'll get to Vonny's hotline a little bit later, but Damien, I just want to catch you up real quickly that so far we have had 3 weeks of Vonny's hotline. He started a little cold, 1-3, went 4-0 in the second week. And if not for Kansas State, he would have gone 4-0 again this past week. So Jaevon's just handing out free money, and I'm just waiting for our listeners to start giving us that feedback that they won some money thanks to Jaevon. And so hopefully some people tune in more for Vonny's hotline and follow the advice because he's just handing out free money. And exactly. And so here we are in episode number 51 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon Toddy, Gary Singh, Kevin Dent, and our special guest, Mr. Damien Barling of D-Lo and KC on ESPN 1320. Damien, I could not let the opportunity pass having you on our podcast. And with the WNBA playoffs going on, I just got to get your thoughts so far on what you've liked from the WNBA playoffs because obviously the Aces, they already swept the sky. The Sun and Lynx, they're headed to a third game in Minnesota. My New York Liberty and the Dallas Wings, they're trying to close out the Mystics and Dreams respectively tomorrow night. And so, Damien, just what are your early thoughts on these WNBA playoffs so far in the first round?
My early thoughts is we kind of knew that they weren't going to be like super good, like particularly as it pertains to Las Vegas, New York. I think the biggest test to those two squads, Connecticut deserves some credit for the way that they played this year. They blew up their team in the offseason and managed to stay really, really good this year. I mean, they traded the MVP last year and just kind of kept moving along, winning games, lost their coach, kept moving along, kept winning games. Washington, who really didn't get anything resembling healthy until the very, very end of the season, finished below 500. That's a team who I thought could potentially challenge the Liberty a little bit. Ultimately, I think they're too like the Liberty and Aces. It's just too much. The one I'll watch is if Connecticut can get in there and make things difficult. But I'm just waiting for the Aces Liberty final because we had an interesting regular season series with them. Obviously, we saw the Commissioner's Cup final. They played a lot of basketball against each other this year. But now it's going to be for a ring. Now it's going to be for a trophy. That's what I'm waiting to see. I love Connecticut. They deserve a ton of recognition. The Mystics are my squad. Shout out Eric Tebow. It's just not the year for them for either of those squads. They're good stories. They're good basketball teams. They're really good basketball programs. But the WNBA playoffs are about the Aces and the Liberty.
And real quickly, I just wanted for everyone who's listening via audio that they should know they got to tune in on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch because you could see all of the album covers behind Damien, and you can tell how great his camera is because it's just immaculate. Just real quickly, Damien, what's your favorite album that we can see behind you? Because I see the Chronic, I see
Off the Wall.
I see a lot.
You stole my question, Shaun.
Yeah, it depends on genre. Like I try to keep records to like a certain like type of music. I deviated from a little bit by getting Good Kid, Dad City. I don't think that's necessarily like a vinyl album, but it's one of my favorite records. It's one of my favorite like albums, one of my favorite records. So I wanted to have it on vinyl. But of the ones that you can see, the two that I think I love the most, one just actually came in today and I put it behind me, is that Mary J. Blige was the 411. That just arrived in the mail today. I struggled a little bit to find it. But man, you can slightly see 3 Michael Jackson albums in the back. Off the Wall, Bad, and Thriller is off next to Good Kid, Dad City. It's any of those Michael Jackson records, man. He's the most important artist of my lifetime. He's the reason I love music. He's the reason I'm on KSFM. He's the reason why I'm in radio. He's the reason for all of that. So you could pick any one of those 3 and call it my favorite. More times than not, I know this goes against the grain a little bit, it's Bad. I actually love the Michael Jackson Bad record. I'll stick with that one. And Mary J. Blige was the 411.
No bad picks there.
Without a doubt. And I don't mean to correct you, Damien, but I heard you say Good Kid, Dad City. Shout out to the kid who's always tuning in on D-Lo and KC.
I did.
It's a fun spin. It's a fun spin on Good Kid, Mad City.
That's like the third time I've referenced Kendrick Lamar's album in reference to our man that way. That's funny. Yeah, Good Kid, Mad City. That's my joint though. And Good Kid, Dad City. That's my dude.
Yeah, and that's probably the best screen name that I've ever seen.
It's flawless. It's flawless.
It's completely understandable. And I just want to give my quick thoughts on the WNBA playoffs because, as you said, the Aces series, I was hoping that Kalia Copper could get going and try to steal a game. But the Aces, they put them away early and didn't even give them a chance. And so those games, they weren't the greatest. I did enjoy the first game between the Liberty and the Mystics because the Mystics, they were fighting hard in that first half. But I mean, given how the regular season ended, yeah, exactly. Because given how the regular season ended with Brittany Sykes nailing that game winner in New York or in Brooklyn and kind of waving the Liberty off the floor, exactly. And Sabrina said after the game that she took it as disrespect, and they're looking to finish it off tomorrow night. And I'm really looking forward to the third game of the Connecticut Sun and Minnesota Lynx series because Kayla McBride, like, even though the Sun beat the brakes off the Lynx in the first game, Kayla McBride was the one who kept them in that game early because she's the only member of Minnesota who really has that playoff experience. And then we saw Nafisa Collier emerge with those 26 points in game 2, and Kayla McBride had 28 in game 2. And so I'm really looking forward to game 3 of that series. And it's really interesting how the WNBA in a 3-game series has the first 2 on the home with the team with home court advantage, and then if you go to a winner take all, you have to play on the road if you're the team with home court advantage, which is interesting. But I mean, it also emphasizes they got to get the job done on their home floor when they have the opportunity. And
it emphasizes they're trying to minimize travel. Like that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to minimize travel, and Connecticut needs to get that series done. They can't lose to Minnesota. Like their season would be a disappointment given the way they played in the regular season if they lose that series. They got to get it done.
That's a fact for sure. And we saw how the players were clapping back on Twitter at Kathy Engelbert because she said earlier in the season that there would be charter flights for all of the playoff games and all the playoff series. And then initially it wasn't until the players voiced their opinions on Twitter. And thankfully it's back to the way it should be. That first game between Dallas and Atlanta was really interesting too, because I think Atlanta got out to like a 24-point lead, and then Dallas came all the way back in that game. Shout out to Enrique Gubawale, shout out to Satsu Sabali, and also shout out to Natasha Howard, former member of the New York Liberty and former Defensive Player of the Year. So that's it for our WNBA coverage. I just had to take that opportunity, Damien. But now it's time for what is my favorite segment, at least. And
season 2.
It's time for season 2 of Shaun's Pop Quiz. That music in the background is the indicator, and it's time. And so, just so you know, Damien, we had season 1 of Shaun's Pop Quiz through 50 episodes, and Kevin was the victor. So shout out to Kevin. But the scoreboard has officially reset. Everyone's at 0, so we'll see who can get on the leaderboard here. And Gary, no more DNPs for you, no more excuses. And so let's get right to it. So this week's Shaun's Pop Quiz is a single question, and it's Brock Purdy edition, because Brock Purdy, he won his 7th game in a row in the regular season to begin his career. And so, Damien, I'm going to kick things off with you as our guest. I'm wondering, because I abbreviated on the ticker BCB, because if you know, you know. But Brock Purdy, he's won 7 regular season games in a row to begin his career. And there's been a lot of other guys since 1966 that have won just as many or more. And so, Damien, I'm wondering, who else has won at least 7 games in a row to start their NFL career that is a quarterback?
I'm going to go Big Ben.
Ding, ding, ding. Big Ben is at the top of the list, and Gary's shaking his head because there goes his only answer. Big Ben had won 15 regular season games in a row to begin his NFL career. So, Gary, since I think Damien just took your answer, I'm going to throw it to you next. There are 5 other quarterbacks that have won at least 7 games in a row, other than Brock Purdy and Ben Roethlisberger, to begin their career. Name one of those 5, Gary.
I'm gonna go another Steelers quarterback back in the day when we were hot. Terry Bradshaw. I feel like he wanted to run as soon as he got in there.
That is incorrect.
Ooh.
All right, on to no redemption on this week because it's just the one question. So, Jaevon, I'm going to throw it to you next. Sorry, Kevin, you were lonely at the top in season 1, so I'm going to go to you last. Jaevon, there are 5 other quarterbacks besides Ben Roethlisberger and Brock Purdy that have won at least 7 regular season games to start their career. Can you name one of them?
To start their career. Got you. I'm going to go with Joe Namath.
Oh, for
that
goodness
is incorrect. Broadway Joe is not on the list.
Watching Hard Knocks.
All right, Kevin. Let's see if you can pick up a point. So far, our guest is the only one who's going to have a point on the leaderboard. He might be ahead of you guys for a couple weeks.
He might know.
There's 5 other guys. Kevin, there's 5 other guys that have won at least 7 games to start their quarterbacking career in the NFL. Can you name one of those 5 that isn't Ben Roethlisberger or Brock Purdy?
I'm going to go with Mark Sanchez.
That is also incorrect, but a good guess.
Wow.
Here's the list.
Whoa.
I know.
Whoa. Is there another one in the last 20 years?
Yes.
Is it Russell Wilson?
No, it is not.
That's a good guess.
Jimmy G didn't get hot like that, did he? I know he was undefeated.
To start his
We talking Hall of Famer? Sean
Ding,
is doing
ding,
much of
ding,
nobody.
ding, 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 ding.
Wow,
Jimmy Garoppolo.
I had a feeling.
7 games in a row to start his NFL career. I think it was the first 2 with the Patriots, and then the next 5 with the 49ers in the 2017
Oh, yeah, there you
because
go.
Jimmy Garoppolo
Yeah,
won
there you
7
go.
games in a row to begin his NFL career.
All things lead
And
back to porn star Jimmy.
I guess so. And I want to give a shout out to SportsCenter because I stole this stat off of SportsCenter, and I was wondering why they had Jimmy Garoppolo just with the generic NFL logo, but it's because he did it between the Patriots and the 49ers. So there's 4 other guys. Any more guesses, gentlemen, before we move on?
Tom Brady?
Tom Brady is
I thought
not
that
on
was
the
too
list.
easy. I was like, yeah, I could have been Tom.
Yo! No.
I'm gonna give you guys
Wait, no, hold on. Is one like a year ago or 2 years ago?
No, Brock Purdy, Ben Roethlisberger, and Jimmy Garoppolo are the only ones from
So this
like the last.
Oh, this is
15 years.
okay. Yeah.
Donovan McNabb.
Phillip Rivers?
Man.
No.
See, now you're gonna make me look something up. How many did Cooper Rush win in a row when Dak was out?
That was like 3 or 4 last year, I think.
Not 7.
I guess not 7.
Can't be
That might be an active streak. He still could do it if he were to start again.
No,
All
I'm
right,
gonna find it now.
They lost.
There's 3 guys on this list that I didn't even know existed until I saw this stat. But there's one more name that I want one of you to guess. This isn't for a point, but I want one of you to guess this guy because he's a former Sacramento Mountain Lion.
Oh, God.
John David Washington.
No, but that's a good guess. That's a good guess. Former Sacramento Mountain Lion, former Minnesota Viking.
Minnesota Viking.
Give us another hint.
Minnesota Viking.
I don't even remember which
From Sacramento.
Former Minnesota Viking, and he played in the whatever they called that football league that was in Sacramento like over a decade ago.
Oh,
he played for the Sacramento Mountain Lions at the end of his playing career.
Dante?
And
I don't know who it was. Dante Culpepper?
There it is, Dante Culpepper. So here, I'll throw myself back up on the big screen. Here's the official list. We got Ben Roethlisberger, M. Livingston. These are the three guys I don't know. I can't even tell you what their first name is. But we got
1940s quarterback.
Ben Roethlisberger, M. Livingston, M. Tom Zach, Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, Dante Culpepper, and D. Brock. So I guess there's another Brock on there. But anyways.
For the record, Cooper Rush is at 5.
He's close.
Ooh.
He's at 5 straight.
I thought he lost.
All right.
I thought they lost to the Eagles.
They did lose to the Eagles. That's the record that was capped at 5.
Oh, it was ended at 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Right? Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Damien, we have a bit of an interesting dynamic here on the podcast where Jaevon and I were 49ers fans. You know what that's like doing a show with Kenny every day. And then we got Gary, who's a Steelers fan, as I mentioned before we got started, and we got Kevin, who's an Eagles fan. So it's a really interesting dynamic that we have each week. And so, Damien, who's your NFL team? I think I heard you say the other week, was it the Cowboys?
No, it was the Cowboys once upon a time. No. It's the Cowboys a long time ago. I don't really have a team that I call my favorite. I just I have players that I like. I like Michael Parsons.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, I like guy. Yeah, right. I like players across the league. I hated to see what happened to Nick Chubb tonight. Like I like Nick Chubb, Micah Fitzpatrick, and some of those
just
guys.
reported by Kevin Stefanski's out for the year.
Yeah, he
multiple torn ligaments.
Yeah, he's done. That's too bad. And that Cleveland team's going to have to figure out something to do in that running back position, whether it's Kareem Hunt or it's someone else. Like they're going to have to work to fill that position because Deshaun Watson he can't do it. Like I don't know what happened I don't know what happened to that brother that quarterbacked in Houston, but man, he just does not look good since coming back from his
hiatus
suspension. Yeah, he does not look good at all. And I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt and let him kind of ease into things, but man, he's just like when has a quarterback ever had 2 face mask penalties in a game? He did that. Like come on, bro, what are you doing?
I don't know, bro. It's crazy.
It's a great question.
Turn the
all right, so now we went to my personal favorite segment, but I think the audience, this is their favorite segment, and the numbers don't lie. Stats over politics. It's time for Fact or Cap with Kevin. So, Kevin, I'm going to get the question's already loaded up, so you can go ahead and give it a click if you want. But who we throwing it to first?
I'm going to go to dealer. We got to go to the guest, man, the man of honor. So I'm definitely got to come to him. So before we get started, though, everyone says every episode, shout out to Kevin for getting the clips out, man. Without Damien, there would be no YouTube clips. Before we got started, we had 2 different YouTube accounts. We had posted them on 2 different accounts. We didn't know what to do. Sean put me in contact with Damien, fixed it all up for us, and now we're rolling to where we are. So we got to start with the man of honor. So, Damien, I'm going to come to you first because I think I know where my co-hosts are going to go. So I think you'll give a better opinion than the rest of them. So Fact or Cap,
unbiased.
Brandon Ayuk is better than Amon St. Ra.
Whoa.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fact. Brandon Ayuk might be emerging as one of the best wide receivers in the league. I mean, Justin Jefferson's kind of by himself. You almost have to say, yeah, he might be the best receiver in the league, but except Justin Jefferson, you almost can't count him in this conversation because he's so absurd. But Brandon Ayuk, man, assuming whatever happened to him, they're kind of downplaying the shoulder thing, or perhaps there's nothing to be worried about with that injury he suffered a couple of nights ago. Yeah, he looked pretty banged up. He looked uncomfortable for most of that Rams game. Assuming that's not something that lingers, of course, you got this short week with Denver coming up on Thursday. I think Brandon Ayuk has a chance to be like a dude, like especially since Brock Purdy seems to really, really like finding him. I think he has the opportunity to be a top 5, top 3 wide receiver in the entire league.
Wow, that's high praise.
It's high praise. So, all right, Gary, before we go to the 2 Niner fans, I'm going to come to you next. Brandon Ayuk is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Fact or cap?
I'm not gonna lie, Kev. This one's pretty neck and neck to me. I'm gonna go with Amon St. Brown just because I feel like he's the number 1 option on his team, and also I just feel like not to take anything from Brandon Ayuk. I know you guys got a personal bet right there with Shaun and Kev going on right now on yardage for the year, and obviously I'm the least person to talk after this man just cooked my Steelers last week. And I watched it with Shaun and Vonny, and it was depressing to watch D-Lo with those guys just dancing in my face the whole time. But
shout out to you for showing up.
Oh, yeah, exactly. But I'm going to say just a little bit better right now just because this is one of those things where I just see there's so much talent on the Niners team with Kittle and Debo and McCaffrey that he's going to, even though it's not to take anything away from him because he's also a great route runner and things of that nature, but I just feel like there's more pressure on Brown and he's been more exceeding that. So I'm going to say he's just a little bit better than Brandon Ayuk at the moment just due to the talent deficiency right there and the help he got.
All right, so let's go to the Niner fans. Toddy, I'm going to come to you next. Fact or cap? Brandon Ayuk is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Fact. I mean, there's not really – I don't really know which one we say. If you put him on the other teams, he could be a number 1 wide receiver. Like, if you put him on the Lions right now, he will be the number 1 wide receiver on the Lions right now. We have George Kittle, Christian Campbell, Debo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk all on the same team. So, yes, it's going to be hard for him to be a number 1 wide receiver when you have potentially other Hall of Famers on the same team. It's going to be hard for you to get a bunch of targets. But now that you have Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy, who's a little bit more comfortable in the system, he likes to throw the ball downfield. A guy who Jimmy Garoppolo was not a guy who could push the ball downfield. You're seeing Brock, even he said in his press conference, he said he had his worst game in his career, and they won the game. And he's looking for BA on a bunch of these, over the middle routes, a couple of dig routes, and a couple of long balls too. So, we have the mastermind kind of scheming up everything, and just guys will be wide open. And Brandon Ayuk is a guy who can, he really doesn't need to get schemed wide open because he leaves defenders in the dirt with his route running. He's one of the best route runners in the league. So I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is an exceptional wide receiver, and he's up and coming. Absolutely a great slot guy. But I think Brandon Ayuk is just on a different level. I made a bet with Kevin earlier in the year. I was probably a year too early that he'd be a top 100 player in the NFL. I lost that bet, but I feel like this coming year, he's definitely going to prove that he's a top 100 player.
All right, Shaun, another Niner fan, everybody. So I think we'll know where we're going to go. So fact or cap, Brandon Ayuk is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
It's a fact. And I even had a moment to look at the numbers, and the numbers are almost identical. So far through 2 games, Brandon Ayuk has 11 receptions for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 12 receptions for 173 yards, 1 more catch, 1 more yard, and 1 touchdown versus 2 for Brandon Ayuk. If Brandon Ayuk didn't have that nagging shoulder or neck injury in that Rams game, then I think he would have had better numbers. But the reason why I say this is a fact is because to me, Brandon Ayuk is one of the best route runners in the NFL. The reason why Brock Purdy has basically made him his number 1 target is because he's constantly open and he's breaking ankles out there on the gridiron. And so to me, the guy who went to Sierra College in Rockland, even putting my bias aside, he is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. And before I toss it back to you, Kevin, I have to ask D-Lo, because D-Lo, the bet that Kevin and I have is whether or not Brandon Ayuk will get 1,000 receiving yards this season. And so, D-Lo, fact or cap, will Brandon Ayuk have over 1,000 receiving yards this season?
Yeah, I'll go fact. Vaughn said something a minute ago about, this loaded 49ers team with Debo and George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey and all those guys. And with all that said, like, Brandon Ayuk still might be the number 1 option. And through 2 games, there's a lot of evidence that Brandon Ayuk might be Brock Purdy's number 1 option.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, if that's the case, this is a team that puts up 30 points every time, they step on the field, or damn near every time they step on the field. Like, so thinking that, Brandon Ayuk could average, a shade under 100 yards per game. Yeah, absolutely. That's fact. That's absolutely possible for him to do that. Extremely possible for him to do that. Like, he might be a Pro Bowler this year. Like, he's
pretty good.
Nah, Brandon Ayuk is really good, and I think he's a focal point of this 49ers offense. You see Kittle, I think Kittle's doing a lot that's getting Christian McCaffrey going. Christian McCaffrey is obviously doing, worlds of work right now. When Debo is there for the explosive plays, but moment to moment, man, Brandon Ayuk he might be the top option for the San Francisco 49ers. This could be a season. This could be a season that people are talking about for Brandon Ayuk for a while.
Damn it, Gary, I hope you're happy. Your JV fucking defense has all these Niner fans thinking Brandon Ayuk is going to take off. So thank you. You and whoever missed that tackle last season to give him that extra 15 yards over 1,000, you two are the fan club, the leaders of the fan club. So it's
Kevin's
all your
politicking.
I'm stats, man. It's one broken tackle. That's 999 yards. But
I see Kevin's the podder. Kevin's the one that come on here and pod.
Yeah,
he's the one that come on here and pod. I'm with it, Kevin. I'm with it.
So factor cap, Brandon Ayuk is better than Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to say no. Just for the fact, like Gary mentioned, Amon-Ra St. Brown is the number one target. We might say Brandon Ayuk is the number one target, but he's not. You guys are going to take Debo over him. You're going to take Kittle over him. You're going to take CMC over him. So, yeah, because they're the Niners' fourth-string cornerback said he's the best route runner in the league, everyone in the league believes it. Let's not go off of these first two games of the Rams, he got hurt, and the JV Steelers team. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the better receiver any day of the week. Everyone's going to put Amon-Ra St. Brown over Brandon Ayuk. So, for this reason, I'm going to go cap. Brandon Ayuk is not better than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
The Steelers, the JV defense caused 4 turnovers tonight. So.
And what did D'Lo say? I don't know why I chose the Browns in anything. Hey, man, come on now. It's the Browns.
Yeah, it's facts.
So, D'Lo, I'm going to come to you next. You're the guest on the show, so I'm going to come to you next. After 2 games of Zach Wilson, the Jets will trade for a new quarterback. Factor cap.
Yeah, that's fact. Like, this is a team. Yeah, they've got to win games. It's tough to. I mean, Brody threw 3 interceptions on Sunday. Like, that's tough. And I wanted to believe, that he could do something, like the bare minimum, like not even a lot. It really feels like he can't do anything. And I feel for him in the sense, like, expectations are sky high. I think you probably have one more week. You're sitting at 1-1. You were able to steal that opening night game, and good for you. But you're sitting at 1-1 now. You could probably put Zach Wilson out there one more time and see what it looks like. But if he can't net you some results, if he can't bring you something back positive from this third week of the season, you need to go. I'll take it a step further. You need to go into week 3 with an idea of what to do if it doesn't go well. Like, if you need to know who that first call is going to be on Monday. You have to know exactly who that first call is going to go to, whether it's a free agent or it's a team. You're going to have to figure something out. But I think they'll let Zach rock one more week. But I think that's all they have to play with is one more week.
All right, Gary, I'm going to come to you next. Factor cap. After 2 games of Zach Wilson, the Jets will trade for a new quarterback.
I'm going to go fact here, too. I don't know if it's going to be next week just yet. I think the way the coach has been talking, they might give him one more extra week, D-Lo. I just feel like they've been also, like you said, depending on the timing when they get this new guy to implement him and get him rocking and rolling with this team, I think is going to matter, too. And to be honest with you, I really think so because, hey, if they want to make the playoffs, and I'm quote-unquote, if Aaron Rodgers said today or hinting towards that, he might come back, miraculously by playoff time, which I don't see happening, but if somehow, some way he can make that happen, and God does him a big favor on that one, they're going to have to be somewhere in the contention. As we know, Buffalo had a bounce-back game this week. Y'all know Miami's over there cooking already, so they're going to have to get things rolling here and try to get some wins while they can, and Zach Wilson, as we've seen, is not the answer right now. So I feel on you, too. I really hope that he can do something, but he's looking lost out there, and I feel bad because hopefully you was hoping that, the plan would be Aaron Rodgers grooms him, and then he can, in a couple of years, take that mantle. But timing's everything, and right now it's at his time, and the Jets have a really good squad, especially that defense, and some weapons, as we can see with Wilson, Garrett Wilson, that if they can get a compliment quarterback like we seen tonight, well, obviously not going to take him, but a guy like maybe who I'm thinking it's the Saints quarterback Derek Carr, who can just come in and do some small things and put some wins together. I feel like I don't know if that guy's out there right now for that call to be made, but they're going to need to switch something up for this team to get some W's here.
Trey Lance.
All right, Sean. I'm going to come to you next, Sean. After 2 games of Zach Wilson, the Jets need to trade for a new quarterback. Fact or cap?
I say that this is capped solely for the fact that Robert Saleh said right after the Aaron Rodgers injury, both after the game and then in his post-game his press conference during the week leading up to week 2, that Zach is our guy. Zach is who we're rolling forward with. And let's not forget that they spent the 2nd overall pick on him. Like, Toddy was all about Zach Wilson, and even I was too. I wanted anyone but McCorkle, but when I thought that Zach Wilson was a lock to go number 2, I realized I wanted Justin Fields. The Niners went with Trey Lance, who I think is out there. If they were to look for a new quarterback for a cheap price, they'll definitely get more than the Niners got from the Cowboys, just given the leverage that the Cowboys would have over the Jets. But to me, I'm going to say cap just based on what Robert Saleh said, but maybe I'm being naive, especially as a journalist, taking everyone's word for it. But Robert Saleh seems like a stand-up guy, so I'm going to take his word for it and say cap.
All right, Toddy, I'm going to come to you next. After 2 games of Zach Wilson, the Jets need to trade for a new quarterback. Fact or cap?
I'm going to say this is a fact. We saw what Zach Wilson looked like last year. That defense is going to put them in every single game possible. I think they have a top 5 defense. We saw it on Monday night, all the turnovers that they caused to Josh Allen, the cover boy of Madden, and how much of duress that they put Josh Allen under. And basically just the air being taken out of the stadium literally 4 plays into the game. And you kind of just saw just the duration of the game and just, man, if Aaron Rodgers was on this team the defense would make it so easy on Aaron Rodgers. I'm just constantly being able to give them possession after possession after possession. And then they just need to score. Like, they can't even move the ball. Like, it's hard for them for Zach Wilson to go in and just, like, it's bad. Like, he's either getting sacked or he's making a bad read or he can't find anybody down the field or he's just airmailing a guy. It's just, we saw what Zach Wilson was. And going into last year, a lot of people, it was Mike White's team at one point in time. Mike White was supposed to be the savior, and he was supposed to be doing this, that, and the third, and they were supposed to go to the playoffs with Mike White, and we saw where that went. And, man, it's hard to say that, yeah, Zach Wilson's going to be the guy. Like, can they win? Like, how many games are they going to win if Zach Wilson is the quarterback for this team the rest of the year? Like, are they going to win 5 games? Are they going to get a top 5 to 10 pick? Like, it's going to be bad because they literally can't move the ball. And we saw how good Garrett Wilson could be, and him having the sole touchdown that the Jets only scored this past Sunday, and just how talented that he is. And the running game they have, and Breece Hall, he didn't get enough touches. Dalvin Cook, I feel like their team is very good. It's just literally the whole quarterback situation. So go back to what Shaun was saying. Guys that should look at, Trey Lance could be a guy. Maybe the Cowboys were, zigging when everybody was zagging and grabbing a guy who's young and unproven and, doesn't have a lot of snaps, but, has a lot of potential. And ultimately he's not going to play if Dak Prescott can help it, because if Dak is healthy, he's going to play. And obviously they have Cooper Rush ahead of him, who Damien mentioned earlier in the podcast. Andy Dalton's a guy that's kind of out there. Bryce Young is going to be getting a majority of the snaps you can look at. A guy who I think they should look at is go get my guy down in New Orleans, eating W's over there. Jameis Winston could be a guy that
that's what that Big Apple needs.
they could look at Jameis. He's been a guy who apparently, according to Jameis, who was balling when he went 30 for 30 that one year, throwing 30 touchdowns and 30 picks. The only guy in history.
Still waiting on the documentary.
The only guy in history to do that. So there's not really that many guys that it's a very short list of people that you can go after. Like, I saw Chad Henne was kind of a guy that was in there, but
he's retired.
I was like, he's retired. Yeah, he's retired. We even saw reports about Brady. I was like, Brady's not coming back. He's retired. He's not coming back.
Definitely not to the Jets.
It's tough. It's a very short list, and you're wondering because this team is so talented. The Jets aren't ready to just punt on the season 2 2 to 3 games in. They're not just ready to, all right, we'll just draft next year. I'm like, whoa, we're still in September, guys. So they got to figure out something fast. And I don't think we really need to see that much more of Zach Wilson. Like, what more can he do? That's going to show you, like, all right, that's enough of Zach Wilson. I feel like last year was like we saw what Zach Wilson was when he got benched for Mike White and whatever the third string quarterback's name is, because he definitely got some snaps in.
Wasn't it Joe Flacco?
It wasn't Joe Flacco. It was a different guy. I don't know what his name was, but they can't score. And when you can't score, you can't win games. No matter how many times your defense can stop the other team from scoring, if you cannot score, then you're not going to win. So Zach Wilson is very incapable of moving the ball down the field and then being able to put points on the board. So I feel like they need to find something, and they need to do it fast.
Teddy Bridgewater. He's in Detroit.
Two-glove Teddy, man. So I'll be the last person to answer this question. Fact or cap? After 2 games of Zach Wilson, the Jets need to trade for a new quarterback. 100%. This is fact. They traded for a new quarterback because they already didn't believe in Zach Wilson. They gave up arguably the first-round pick, but now it's going to become a second because Aaron Rodgers is going to play 75% of the snaps. So if you're giving up a first-round pick on a guy that you drafted second overall, that shows that you don't believe in him. Like Toddy said, how much more do we have to see of Zach Wilson? We see this Jets defense that is playing lights out. Sauce Gardner is one of the best corners in the league. You have this offense, Toddy, or just Gary mentioned Garrett Wilson. You have the weapons, Breece Hall coming back from his ACL, Dalvin Cook. It goes on and on and on. You need a quarterback. And what better quarterback than Matthew Stafford? He's on quarterback. What? Hey, man, this is drama. This is what we want. This is in the script. This is what he came to LA for. That they were a quarterback away, and look what he did for them. But before I pass it on, I have to throw this out there. Kyler Murray. Toddy didn't like it, so I had to come on the pod and see what the pod.
He's not healthy.
Hey, Zach was for 2 more weeks. He's on the IR. He'll be back.
Oh, so Kyler's just because he's on. For everybody listening out there, IR does not mean that you're going to come back after 4 games. It is the minimum amount of games that you have to come back after injury. Kyler Murray tore his ACL last year, and now Kevin thinks, he's on IR. He's going to come back in 4 games. That's not the case. Kyler Murray is probably not going to play the entire season because the Cardinals are trying to tank to probably end up getting the number 1 draft pick.
Exactly. So if you're going to draft a quarterback anyways, might as well get rid of Kyler.
The price might be too high.
I thought about.
He's probably not going to.
You can get Kyler for a third.
To get traded, you have to pass a physical.
Yeah, but Kyler got money though. Like that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like Kyler's not Trey Lance. Like Kyler's got like a $200 million price tag.
Aaron Rodgers might not come back. This could be your future.
Don't. Oh.
They're not like Kyler, huh? I think Kyler's pretty solid.
I thought about is Jacoby Brissett and my man Carson Wentz.
No.
He's potting. He's potting,
baby.
baby.
I'm potting for sure on Carson. I just have to throw my man some love. Get him a new pair of shorts.
Yeah, Kevin be potting.
All right. Well, we want to be respectful of Damien's time. And so, Damien, thank you so much for joining us on episode number 51 of Stats Over Politics. We really appreciate you. But before we go, I just want to get to a couple of YouTube comments. Our guy, Uncle Manny, who is Gary's uncle, he says, enjoy listening to D-Lo and KC. So he was very impressed by us bringing you on. We appreciate you for joining us. Thank you. I apologize, Damien, because my guy James, who I'm about to go to SmackDown with next week, you can't escape it, Damien. You can't escape it. Ricky Starks from AEW. That's him right there. Gary and Jaevon and Kevin, they probably don't get that reference at all. But Ricky Starks is a wrestler in AEW who looks pretty similar to Damien Barling. And so even on Stats Over Politics, you can't escape it. But we appreciate you for joining us, Damien, and thank you so much for your time.
I couldn't fight it when Ricky came on the show and was like, "Yeah, we kind of look alike." Like, so it was just like, well, I guess I just own that. I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks for having me. You know, I'm proud of all of you guys, proud of all of the work that you do, and thrilled to watch you guys grow as individual podcasters, and proud to watch this podcast grow, man. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Appreciate you. We'll be tuned in tomorrow at 12 p.m. on ESPN 1320. Thank you so much, Damien.
Appreciate you. Thank you, brothers.
All right, so let's keep it moving and let's get to week 2 in the NFL. And we'll kick things off with Kevin's favorite team being the 49ers, baby, as the San Francisco 49ers beat the Los Angeles Rams 30-23. As Damien said, the Niners are putting up 30 points a game. They put up 30 in the game against the Steelers, and they put up 30 again against the Rams as the 49ers beat the Rams 30-23. So, Jaevon, I'm going to toss things to you first as the other 49ers fan on this panel. What did you think overall of this game?
I posted in the Twitter group chat. I don't know if you guys saw it. It said, imagine drafting Jamar Chase over Puka Nacua. And this guy literally just came out of nowhere. 15 catches for like $146. Guy could ball. I just think the Rams probably have a lot more fight than a lot of people probably give them. They have a healthy Matt Stafford. I feel like if they have Matt Stafford, they have a chance. Matt Stafford is probably arguably one of the better quarterbacks in the NFC. He's won a Super Bowl with the Rams, and Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the NFL. So they're going to be tough regardless. And obviously they still have Aaron Donald on that D-line. But I just think the Niners kind of came out very slow. They really Steve Wilkes made some second half adjustments, but I just thought that the Niners were playing a lot of off coverage on a lot of these receivers, and I feel like we should have been in a lot of bump and run, more press coverage. But you gotta press guys when you have like Diamador Lenore and Javarius Ward as your corners. I feel like with a lot of these, not really don't know. I for the most part, they're no-name receivers besides Puka Nacua, who's a guy who's kind of been, making a name for himself. But other than that, man, I feel like you guys got to get up in them. You got to press, and I feel like we had to run a lot more bump and run. And we made some second-half adjustments going out because I feel like we were getting beat on a lot of 5-yard in slant routes at the beginning of the game. And they were running the ball pretty well earlier in the first half. And it was very frustrating for a defense who I believe is a top 5 defense to kind of just them to be able to run all over us. But I feel like we made a couple second half adjustments. Brock Purdy played pretty solid. Christian McCaffrey does what he does. I think he's probably the best running back in the league. Second week in a row with 100-plus rushing yards. Deebo Samuel does what he does because he's Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk fought through injury. We saw George Kittle sighting. We didn't really see too much of him in week 1 just because we just got so ahead of ourselves. Next time I blinked and it was 30-0. So I mean, you stop throwing the ball after so much. And we saw George Kittle kind of get into the swing of things. Brock Purdy missed some throws. I said that kind of earlier in the podcast, but he said that he has to be better. Hey man, each week and now, Brock Purdy's showing you that he could be a top 15, 12, maybe even 10 quarterback.
This is all your fault, Gary.
I think that
one bad week, Kev. Slow down now. My team just bounced back today.
when the dust settles, I feel like he'll definitely be. I mean, even LaShawn McCoy, Kevin's guy, said that Brock Purdy's the second best quarterback in the NFC, which I thought was pretty crazy. But I feel like when this offense gets rolling, gets clicking, I feel like it's gonna be tough for us to stop us. And Sean McVay had the petty 3 points at the end of the game with time running out. But other than that, I thought the Niners ended up adjusting at halftime, and we ended up coming out with the W. 9 straight ones against the Rams in the regular season.
I hope that wasn't a bad beat. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Jaevon, I hope that wasn't a bad beat for you with that late field goal because it had to be a bad beat.
We bought a point, guys. We bought that point, so we got the push.
All right. Hey,
smart man.
That's why you buy points, and that's why you listen to Vonny's Hotline. And so, Kevin, you're talking a lot about Gary's team, but the reality is, regardless of if you think the 49ers are the best team in the NFL, we can all agree they are a top 5 team in the NFL. I feel like that's unanimous.
Easy.
Thank you. Okay, so Kevin, what do you think about the 49ers overall at this point?
6.
I knew he was going to say that.
right on the doorstep, right there.
I was waiting for Kev to say, yeah, 5.
So anyways, Kevin, the 49ers, they beat the Rams 30-23. And so what did you think of this game overall?
So as you guys know, when the Niners are on, I got 1,000 different things to do. Not even going to waste my time. Got the ESPN alert that they were down. Stopped everything. Turned it on. Matthew Stafford's driving. Tutu Atwell just interception, game over. Just like that. I saw Toddy tweet, we're really losing to the Rams, hit my screenshot. I had to turn the game on. I'm like, okay, I'm tuned in now. Let's go. Let me see what's happening.
Yeah, so locked to the drafts.
Yeah, so it went downhill really quick. But like you guys mentioned, SoFi South. I'm sure everyone saw the highlight of Chris McCaffrey running down the sideline, and all you see is red in the background. It's a shame, It's just like Vegas, they're so new to this area. They're not really like diehard fans yet. So there's fans of everybody, but it's not too far of a drive. So everyone went up there to take over the SoFi West, and you guys beat the Rams, and it's all big and woohoo. And people had them with the number 1 pick.
Levi South is the term.
So let's slow it down here, ladies and gentlemen. And like Toddy said, giving up a lot to undrafted receivers. Tutu Atwell. Hey, it's all good and dandy. 7 points. It's a close one. You guys are sweating it out. But like you guys mentioned, all that matters is the W. I don't know if Brock Purdy's going to be top 10 like Toddy's mentioning, but like I mentioned, let's get some better competition before we start making those broad claims. Let's all give a handout to JV Steelers out there that started off this.
We gotta win. Stop with the JV now, Kev. It's done. Weekend's over.
Bro, but they still tore you.
We 1-1.
It doesn't matter. You guys started the Niner
500 and climbing. Come on now.
You guys.
Hey, Jaevon, let's just sit back. Let's let them go at it. Let's just sit back.
You guys in the.
You're trying to take a backstab at my team to stab your team. You're trying to double stab.
Backstab, dude. I want to stab you in the front and between your eyes. I want you to see this. This is your fault.
Yeah, but you're
talking about Brandon. You can better see Lamb.
You're stabbing me, but Shaun and Vonny are right behind me. You're like trying to go through all of us. Anyways, it's my turn, Shaun. I think so. All right. 49ers. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Obviously, you can see my picks. I thought you were gonna win this week, so obviously it wasn't too big of a shocker for me. Kind of Kev put it out there. I was gonna, I'm gonna eat on this one right here. This was a little too close for comfort, don't you guys think? Obviously Vaughn is tweeting out that we might lose to the Rams. It's a divisional game, but you just mentioned, Shaun, that you're 7-8-0 versus this team.
You, Gary.
And this team also, okay, 9-0. Okay, yeah, 9-0, okay. And
9 in a row. And all 9 of those games weren't blowouts. They had the close ones. I was there for the Monday Night Football.
Well, those teams is this is nowhere near those Super Bowl teams right now. Literally, this team was predicted to be in the draft lottery again. Obviously, shout out to Sean McVay, obviously doing great things for this team and being a Super Bowl head coach he is, to even have them in contention so far this year. Also, that bad man Aaron Donald is still on this team, so obviously they got still a few guys. But overall, this team, this shouldn't have been as close as it was. Obviously, it was really, I guess, cool to see that you guys took over the stadium like damn near everyone else does in LA now. Yeah. I can't wait till LA actually becomes like a team. The Chargers can't even get Chargers and the Rams both basically don't have no type of home crowd, barely week to week, depending on who they're playing. So at least Rams a little bit got more than the Chargers, because the Chargers literally feel like 16 home away games literally every single week, which is probably why the coach is going to be fired, because they're not clutch. But anyways, side point. But I just feel like the Niners, I just wanted to see that, I guess, to make us look JV again. Kev, I was waiting for the Niners to make the Rams to make them look JV like they made us look last week. And us not seeing that, I think it's not a dent in the armor. I don't think it's nothing to panic about. I would say anything like that. I would have said something just to what Kev would say, maybe name note, because, you're beating teams that I feel like you guys, and it is, like you said, Shaun, you're a top 5 team, and we're holding you guys to that high standard, just like I feel like the Eagles haven't been doing as good as they should too. So I feel like, with that being said, I feel like, yeah, you guys got the win. Yeah, we picked you guys, but since, we're stabbing and picking at the best teams and what do we think we should be happening. I feel like, obviously, it's the NFL, anything can happen week to week, and W's a W, but I just feel like there's a little things that you guys still need to wrap up and tie up if you guys really want to win that big game at the end of the year. So that's what this is all aiming towards right now. We're going to keep looking forward to the end of the year and look at this team. Is that good enough to win the big game at the end of the year? And just like Vaughn said, it's not really good if your quarterback saying this is the worst game I played. Yes, it's good because it wasn't a win, but I think we want Mr. Brock trending this way. I don't think that if that man thinks he's actually trending this way, he's going like this. I don't know what this looks like to you guys. It looks like a roller coaster. So let's not hopefully start that trend for Mr. Brock Purdy himself.
That actually looked like the Pittsburgh Steelers right there. Up and down and up and down.
Oh yeah, but we're not knocking at the door of the Super Bowl every year, are we? The last few years.
You would be if you had
different expectations.
You would be
different expectations, Shaun.
Gary, did you see that defense tonight? Because I was covering a volleyball game, but I saw enough.
All right,
to
I'm
know
not gonna
that
lie.
is
Now.
an
We went
elite
to verse
defense.
2 defensive fronts now with Miles Garrett, and you guys already know who's on your guys' defensive front. My guy Kenny is a little bit, still can give my guy at
We're
least
gonna
half
call
the
him
season.
Kenneth. We're gonna call him
What I
Kenneth
tell
from
you?
now on.
What I said when my father left her house? What I said? Do you remember what I said or no? When I was in the bathroom, I came back. I heard you guys talking about my Steelers, and you guys said, "Give me until Thanksgiving to make my full proclamation on what I think about my guy Kenny Pickett. I'm gonna give him a little more time to see where he is. We got a W under his belt, so I ain't too mad. Just give me till Thanksgiving, and I'll let you know if I fully believe or not believe. Because I'm not knocking. I'm not on Sean's side where he thinks he's complete trash, or in my language, dirty. That's what it means in my language. It means poop in my language. Or he's not also not doing hella great. So he's in the middle of the pack right now. We're gonna see how it ends about.
Sean, we don't want to hear the Cardinal stats. We get it. He threw
stats
a lot against the Cardinals.
Right?
We get
it. Stats over politics,
the Cardinals,
or is it not?
They're not playing to win.
Stats over politics.
Just Josh Dobbs, baby.
Daniel Jones, 321 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, 9 rushing attempts for 59 yards, and a rushing touchdown. Vanilla Vic is better than Kenneth. And like I said in our Stats Over Politics Fantasy League, choosing between Kenny Pickett and just choosing between Kenny Pickett and Daniel Jones is truly like when I voted in my first election back in 2016 and I had to choose between Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. It's the worst of the worst. I mean, I'm picking the best of the worst, and I'm going to take Daniel Jones over Kenneth.
No, you're
the best of the worst.
No.
The best of
I was trolling earlier. Kevin, now it's time to get to your actual favorite team. And this was the first game of week 2, and that's the Eagles beating the Vikings by a final score of 34-27. It was a little closer than I think it needed to be, Kevin, but
ugly ass
you're the Eagles fan, so let me know.
Hey, man. They hate us because they ain't us. Joe Burrow's 0-2. Justin Herbert's 0-2. All we talking about
I thought you were going to come out here and be like,
people talking about us like we 0-2. We winning games. That's the end of the day. So let me paint a picture for you guys. We saw A.J. Brown get frustrated because he's not getting the ball. Brian Flores, on 85% of the defensive snaps, rushed 3 people. We all watch football. That's 3 defensive guys versus 5 offensive guys. Why in the fuck would we throw the ball? Mm-hmm. Off the limit, off the rush, off this 3 versus 5. We're just going to run the ball. DeAndre Swift, 174 yards. If they can't stop it, why do it? You saw what happens when they said, all right, let's get out of this zone. Let's put 4 on the line and let's press it a little bit. Devontae Smith, touchdown. Let's do it again. Devontae Smith, game. Brian Flores got spooked. Brian Johnson, our offensive coordinator, is going to figure it out. We're showing that we can do it in spurts. We just have to put it together. Like I came on here last week, this is a team who didn't play a single preseason snap. A single starter did not play 1 snap in the preseason. So we're still gelling, and we're still getting to find out who we are. This weekend, I let Toddy know, the best defense is still in Philly. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are going to can arguably be the best defensive tackles for the next couple of years. Let me show you something. So Jalen Carter has in 3 games, 1 sack, 10 hurries, and 11 pressures. Let me tell you what Aaron Donald did his rookie year. 713 snaps, 44 pressures, 9 sacks, 29 hurries. Jalen Carter is on pace to get 578 snaps, 93.5 pressures, 9 sacks, and 85 hurries. This D-line is only getting better. The rich get richer. Isn't that what they say? So we're only doing better. Yes, Mac Jones tore us up. Yes, you can say Kirk torched us up. What other defense had 125 pass attempts against it in 2 weeks? None. When you're up big, when we're up 16-0, and the New England Patriots can only rush for 55 yards, what else can you do? You have to throw it.
Kevin, I got a question for you.
We're up big. Hold on. I'm eating right now. So we're up big. So what are we doing? We're up big. We're just gonna let all keep in front of us. What's the point? We're up big. What we do last year? Take the foot off the pedal. We're gonna win the game. We're up 27-7. They had 28 rushing yards for the whole game. What else are they going to do? These are still professional football players. And like I mentioned, for us to have Avonte Maddox go down and James Bradbury, what do you expect? We had 2 corners out there who expected to not play 1 game this season. So, we're going to be fine. We have 10 days until we touch the fields again. Like I mentioned, Jalen Hurts and Brian Johnson are only going to get better. A.J. Brown tweaked out like this last year. And what happened? 1,400 yards career year. It's gonna be fine. When he got upset, this is what gives me faith. When he got upset, next play, touchdown on a bad hold, DeAndre Swift. Next play, should have been a touchdown, PI. When we want to do it, we can do it. So that's what I'm saying. So we're going to be really good. Devontae Smith is really going to have a blow-up year. Everyone's scared of the deep ball. So what are they going to make us do? They're going to make us run the ball. And if you want to rush 3, we're going to run 174 yards a game down your throat. Easy as that. We ran for 255 yards in a football game. You would have asked me, we're playing Madden. 255 yards is nuts. So, Gary, what's your question?
I want to know what your letter grade is for Mr. Jalen Hurts, because that's the only little thing I've been saying. What is the?
I love it. I was hoping somebody asked me that question.
I just want to know what you feel. Are you? Don't tell me you get an A. It's not. He's not. I'm not saying he's not great and he's not great quarterback. Just his last first 2 weeks, Kev. I can't. I hope. Let's see. I want to hear your grade. I hope you're not giving A's out just yet. He gonna get an A one day, but I don't think these first 2 weeks has been an A. That's the only thing I'm a little bit iffy right now with the Eagles. But go ahead, Kev. Go answer my question.
40 of 46, 363 yards, 92 rushing yards, 5 total touchdowns. My man has thrown 6 incompletions in 2 games. What is his grade? That's an A. It's an A, 100%. He's out here doing his thing. He's leading us to 2 victories. No one's going to talk about Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow playing like shit. All the focus on is the Eagles. So they hate us because they ain't us, Gary. So Jalen Hurts is only got to get better. So I can live without the interception and the fumble, but Jalen Hurts has showed me nothing but progressive.
That doesn't knock him down to a B this weekend from Kev.
No, because
he's been missing a couple of deep balls too.
We threw 3.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not saying that they shouldn't win the game. It's good they won the game, just like the Niners. It's a different expectation of at the end of the year, where should he be? Weren't you having? Is he in the MVP conversation right now, Kev? With that A performance that you give him?
No. With the other quarterbacks that are playing like shit.
Really that's why I was hoping.
Everyone's really playing. No one's really coming out and doing anything crazy. So it's not like Jalen Hurts is playing like shit. There's other quarterbacks that are playing worse. Joe Burrow just threw for 83 yards in a football game.
He's not playing like shit, but he also ain't playing like an A. He ain't playing MVP level. So that's why I was wanting to hear Kev was going to come down a little bit, and we praise him later, Kev, when he's back on fire. Right now, he deserves like a B or a C.
$175 man, 2-0, no injuries. I sit back with my feet up.
Go ahead, Vaughn.
This Eagles team has been it's looked different for sure. I think the play calling can be a lot better. Jalen Hurts what Kevin's basically essentially saying, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, those guys can turn on whenever they want.
Like a light switch.
We've seen Jalen Hurts hasn't looked like the Superman guy we saw last year. But I feel like, playing in the preseason does mean something. He has to kind of get acclimated with the new offense. This down the third, getting guys involved. We saw AJ Brown kind of have a little episode on the sideline. He's not getting the ball. Well, I mean, DeAndre Swift's running for 140 yards. Why would you throw the ball? It doesn't make sense. But I get it because
they're rushing 3. Well, why are we throwing the ball?
He's their number 1 guy, so he has the right to want to get the ball. So
Ocho Cinco said that too.
I do want to kind of spin it forward. I'm going to start saying that a lot more. I kind of like what Shaun kind of said that. Monday night is going to be I think it's going to be a test for this Eagles team. The way that this Bucs team has been playing has shocked a lot of people. They are 2-0. Kev's going to smack his lips.
Don't pump up the Bucs, Vaughn.
They beat the Vikings and the Bears. Congratulations.
Exactly. Kev, y'all should kill him.
The defense has been able to cause turnovers. I'm not saying that the Bucs will beat you guys, but I feel like they will give fits and be able to cause turnovers and give Baker Mayfield more possessions than usual. I think the game is in Tampa Bay. Am I wrong about that? I'd like to see what the line is on that game, but I do think this. I'm not saying they're going to win. I might take them in the points because I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. But by the way,
Baker Mayfield.
I feel like this Eagles team it's kind of been asleep at the wheel in a couple
5.5, Vaughn.
Was it 5.5?
5.5.
Yeah, I might take that. I just think this Eagles team, they'll be asleep at the wheel in a lot of these games. Like they should have blew out the Pats. They let them come back. They should have blew out the Vikings. They were up 3 scores and they kind of let them come back.
Well, no, it's fumble nation. We didn't even talk about that. They were fumbling left and right.
Yeah, so I feel like if they fall asleep at the wheel at one of these games with a solid defense, I don't know if they'll be able to, kind of bring themselves out of that hole. But we'll see. I've already said to Kevin that I think that their schedule is weaker throughout the first the next 4 weeks of their schedule. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Kevin probably has the schedule off the top of his head. He could probably read that out to you. But the quarterbacks that they face aren't like Patrick Mahomes and all that. They will start to face those guys later into the season, but the Eagles should win their next 4 games. They should start out 6-0. They'll be favored in the next 4 games.
They play Tampa, Washington, Rams, and Jets. Yes, they should win. The next test they actually have, Kevin, is versus Miami.
So before we throw it back to Gary to get his thoughts overall on this game, Kevin, I want to apologize to you because I had a typo on the little ticker. It said 27 for the Vikings instead of 28, so I might have ruined your social clip. I promise that was unintentional, but you probably won't believe me. I corrected it. That was on me. And I just want to get to a couple of our YouTube comments real quickly because we them boys are getting loud in the comments. As my guy Bob,
Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson. Congratulations! We were just talking about Zach Wilson not even playing again.
So my guy Bob,
6 turnovers. Like, what do you mean? It's hard to do against anybody.
The Giants didn't even score.
I think the Dallas.
My team might be the best defense, man. We just scored 2 touchdowns today.
Jesus Christ.
Defensively, yeah.
All right.
Anyways,
All right,
go ahead, Tony.
Anyways,
Haters.
My guy Bob, he says in the YouTube comments, and Bob is a noted Dallas Cowboys fan. Fun fact for Kevin, Bob's brother, Rick, is an Eagles fan. So that's an interesting family dynamic in itself. I keep telling them that they should start an NFC East podcast because it would be super entertaining. But anyways, Bob says, knock it off, Kevin. Dallas defense is better. Uncle Manny chipping in says, no discussion about America's team getting no credit, but that's okay. Our guy James.
2-0. They're also 2-0.
And our guy James is speaking for the Niner gang, and he says, man, I can't wait to play the Eagles. Neither can I. Neither can Kevin. Kevin and I were going back and forth in the group chat for weeks until we both realized that it just kept circling around and around and around and around to the same stuff. So then at that point, I just got to a point where I was like, all right, Kevin, I'll see you week 13. We'll talk in 3 months when it comes to our 2 teams. And a couple other comments. Oh, my God. And there's Julian. I told you, we them boys. The comments started blowing up during this segment. We them boys. As Bob also says, I bet he thinks Dak playing like a C, though. LMAO, you can't be serious.
Yo, Dak do 14 completions. 2 glove Kenny can do that.
Whoa.
That's gonna be
so many side shots.
Play the Cowboys. When do they?
It's because Kenny sucks. Yeah. Oh, Kevin, real quickly, as I read these last 2 comments, figure out for me when the Eagles and Cowboys do play because I'm looking forward to that game. As Bob says, Eagles offense coordinator is suspect, and you know it. Dan Quinn's going to eat his ass up. I'm not going to give an opinion on that. I'm just reading the comments. And also, finally, our guy, Julian, he is tuning in as well as he says, how about that boys defense?
Look at the boys again. I'm surprised. Jesse, Manny, tuning in.
I can 7 weeks we play the Cowgirls.
Week 7.
How many weeks?
7 weeks. And 7 weeks play them.
Ooh,
November 5th.
It's gonna be a long wait for that one and week 13. It's gonna be a long wait.
Could you imagine being an offensive coordinator in your first games being against Bill Belichick and Brian Flores? These motherfuckers had all summer to plan for you. All summer. This is your first 2. Hey, you're losing your virginity against Bill Belichick. Come on now, fellas. Let's give them some time. Give them some time. We're gonna figure it out. Like I said, we're showing flashes. We're showing flashes. We have a lot of injuries. That's what people were saying last year. What are you guys gonna do if you don't get to say another healthy season? So now we're getting through the thick of things, but we're gonna figure it out. We got 10 days to rest until Monday, and the Bucks better watch out because this Baker Mayfield hype train's coming to an end.
Probably.
Okay, so Gary, finish off this Eagles. There was so much Cowboys talk. Apologize. Finish off this Eagles segment for me. Gary, what did you think about this game? Because in my opinion, and the only opinion I'll give on this one for the sake of time, is the Eagles were playing with their food. And to me, the Super Bowl hangover is real. And yes, they do have new coordinators on both sides of the ball, but the Eagles should have put away the Patriots early. The Vikings should have put away, or the Eagles should have put away the Vikings early. And so to me, they were playing with their food. Kevin obviously disagrees, but Gary, you're the unbiased one in the AFC on this podcast. So what do you think?
Hold on, Gary. So when we're 6-0, is it still a Super Bowl hangover, or was it Super Bowl hangover for just 2 weeks?
We'll see.
Because I don't understand because the Chiefs are 1-1.
We'll see if they get to 6-0.
I'm just saying, when we're
We'll
undefeated and there's a hangover.
We'll see. Talk to me in a month.
And there's a hangover. How does that make sense?
The 49ers started 8-0, and that season didn't mean shit because they ultimately lost in the Super Bowl.
We're not y'all. Don't ever do that again.
Gary, go ahead.
I think I already kind of said what I wanted to say on this, to be honest with you. Again, it's kind of back to what I was saying earlier to Kev. I feel like the Eagles are on the right track. They're doing the right thing. I just feel like, again, kind of like I feel about your guys' Niners team. I feel like it should have been more of a stamped W in this case, especially I was at work watching this game. Every time I turn around, I see a turnover by over Kirk Cousins and this shitty-ass team that just can't hold the ball. I'm not to be mean, but the Vikings, man, it's just like, it was just so like crazy to watch. I've never seen this many turnovers so early and so quick. It was just sloppy football to watch. So I feel like maybe that's what it is. I feel like, Kevin, your team's reminding me of like those teams that play down to the competition. And I think that's where I'm on the money with it right now. I believe in your team. Obviously, I want your team to beat this team right here in the 49ers. So I have high expectations for your Eagles fans. So I want you guys to play a little bit better and dominate people as we've seen last year. We've seen you dominate people, and that's why you guys went on that run and you guys created winning habits. That's all I'm asking for you, Kev. I'm asking for a little more higher standard.
Hey, man, they're only rushing 3, Gary. They done the film. They don't want it to happen again. They don't want the dominance to happen. They're only rushing 3.
I'm not going to lie, though. I don't want to hear that because I see Tyreek Hill go crazy every week, and we all know who's getting the damn ball. So in this league, in this league, though, if you're a great scheme up guy and great offense, no matter what, you guys can make some stuff happen
against
anybody in the NFL. You rush 3 against anybody in the NFL, you're gonna run it down your fucking throat. But
you better get that guy happy soon.
Shaun, send this man my Venmo. Send this man my Venmo, please. Please send this man my fucking Venmo. Because it's been crazy. So send him my Venmo, and he can take the bet. Whatever bet he wants. Come on,
Rob, put the bet out there, buddy.
Okay, so just for our audio.
Not as crazy as it seems.
It's not crazy.
Now they beat the Broncos, and it is overreaction in city in this fucking podcast.
Well, Kevin, that's exactly why I said we'll see if they get to 6-0. I'm not telling you that they're going to lose to the Commanders like my guy Bob is. However, I will send you, I'll send Bob your Venmo. You guys can chat between me, or I'll just give you his number, and you guys can talk yourself.
Right now. He's going to put the bet out right now.
Yeah, we'll see if Bob wants to drop the bet.
Tell Bob only bet Benjamins.
All right,
this ain't chump change. So if you really believe in him, I only bet with 3 figures.
Real quick, Kevin, that was a bar, so well done. But anyways,
appreciate
for our audio only.
Yeah, Rob was
left. Audio only listeners. Jesus Christ. Okay, for our audio only listeners, the long anticipated. What did Bob say? He said the Commanders are gonna beat the Eagles. Mark it down. I will be sending Kevin Bob's Venmo and vice versa. And if they want to bet $100, I will confirm that with you, Kevin, if that's what he wants. Or we'll see if he's just talking shit just to be in the comments, and we appreciate him for him being in the comments.
Appreciate that too.
And before Cowboys Nation goes, whatever they want to call themselves, Weed and Boys. What's up, Gary?
I don't know if anytime point in the pod we're gonna talk about how I went 7-2 this week with a big bounce back. Just FYI on the records. I don't know what y'all win with the picks.
What? 7-2? You only picked 9 games?
All right, no. I know I missed 2 games. I missed 2 games.
What?
I think I only missed 2 games. I think I only got 2 games. I'm looking at my thing right now.
16 games.
I think I only missed 2.
Total it all up.
My man puffed his chest out and said, "Hold on."
I'm looking at Bills won, Ravens, Chiefs, Chargers lost, Packers won.
7-2, and
I'm looking good. I'm just doing a quick count. Hold on, I won a lot of games this week, bro. Shit, we might have changed the hotline.
Right, we need to talk about Toddy picking the Cardinals.
I know. I saw the future.
Right.
Bro. I really did.
We will circle back and
blame Hunter for that. He sent me the wrong stat. Thanks, Hunter. Blame my 12-year-old cousin on that one. I ain't gonna lie.
That's on you, Gary. So, anyways, before We Dem Boys leave the stream, we hope you stick with us to the end. But before We Dem Boys leave the stream, I see a number just went down. Bob might have already left. But anyways,
nope, he's
Cowboys.
Here. Throw it on the screen. He's here.
There it is. Oh, I didn't see it. Well, the Cowboys, they beat the Jets 30-10. And all right, Kevin asked me to throw it on. I wouldn't have, but here we go.
Talk about a backpedal. Backpedal.
So for our audio-only listeners, my guy Bob says this
Why don't you gotta
corny
bet on the
ass
Cowboy
dude. Someone
Eagle game?
pull his
Well,
plug.
I'm fine with that.
Send
but
me
usually
that
they talk about
shit.
the Commanders.
Let's
Getting crazy.
bet on the Cowboys game. Chump.
Hey, we
All
appreciate
right.
the love, Rob. Let's keep it all friendly
Jump is
here.
crazy.
Hold on now. We appreciate
Yes,
the
jump.
Hey,
fans.
man, his
Kev
feelings
just
got hurt. His feelings got
Kev-
hurt. It's okay.
Kev's just talking
He's
shit.
politicking. No. Commanders will never beat the Eagles again. We got something for them. They celebrated like they won a fucking Super Bowl last year.
Where's that
Maybe
game
us.
at?
So it don't matter. We'll beat them twice. We can bet twice.
He said we could bet too.
He can pick the location.
All right. Well, Bob, please be nice, and we're going to keep it moving as we talk about Bob's team now, and that being the Cowboys beating the Jets 30-10. Cowboys beating Zach Wilson. And so, Gary, because you have so many boys in your family, what do you think about this game? I mean, the Cowboys are looking potentially like a top 3 defense. I'm not going to give them number 1 because that belongs in the Bay, and my bias is strong. But what's happening, Gary?
Oh no, I've been hearing a lot of this top defense, that, like literally this whole morning. So I'm like, who the hell is the top defense? Literally, they're literally saying the Browns, you guys, everyone's
It's the
top
Steelers.
defense. Everyone. I've been saying a lot of people have been saying the Jets have the best defense. I'm like, oh my, how many best defenses we got in the league right now? But anyways, to be honest with you, again, this is what they were supposed to do. We already talked about it earlier. Zach Wilson was the quarterback. That's all I had to say right there. Zach Wilson was the quarterback. That's an automatic W for the other team at the moment. The way that guy's been looking like deer in headlights. Sorry to say that, Zach, but you're looking like that, my guy. I know you were thrown into the fire last minute. You thought you were going to have a relaxed year on the bench, learning behind one of the greatest of all time, but to throw your ass in and you do not look ready. And I know I've seen some today too. It was not a good look when you basically, I think, throw like an overpass and they flip the camera to you and you're laughing and smiling on the sideline. Trust me, it's not a good look, buddy. Not a good look. I think you should buckle up here and get ready to see what's the post-career looking like. They might have I don't know if you're good at Fox or something like that, broadcasting. Maybe come join us on Stats or Politics. I feel like I'm being really mean right now, but my guy, it's pretty much a done deal for you guys, and that's what the Cowboys should have won. The Cowboys did what they needed to do, handle business. And yeah, simple as that. We'll move on to week 3 to see. I don't know who they play next week, but I'm waiting for this. So far, I'm not seeing any challenges for you guys. The Eagles ain't got no challenges. The Cowboys ain't got no challenges. Now, the Niners earlier didn't have no challenges. So I'm just trying to wait to see some of these teams actually maybe compete versus each other, compete versus some, have some close games to see if they're even clutch. I haven't been seeing any clutch moments from these teams just yet, other than I guess you can say the Eagles did have a slightly clutch moment. I guess you could say that put the nail in the coffin. But overall, I haven't seen no clutch 2-minute drives for this team yet, and that's what we're going to need to see because you're not going to be playing the Jets in near January and December. You're not going to be playing, like Kev said earlier, the Washington Commanders. You're going to be playing high-level teams, and, actually Washington maybe could make some noise just because Eric Bieniemy is making the offense look really good out there right now. But now I'm just waiting to see a little bit more of a challenge versus these great teams in the head of the NFC teams right now and the teams that we all just talked about. So that's pretty much all needs to be said right now. There ain't really nothing to say right now. You got to give credit where credit is due. The Cowboys defense has been locked and loaded so far at the beginning of the year. They've all been playing great. It's crazy to see Michael Parsons. He's a game changer. And to be honest, I hate the Cowboys, but you can't handle that, man. It's really fun to watch to see what he does, especially when I like his like new little crawl thing he be doing when after he gets a big sack. He be going crazy. I ain't gonna lie. He looks like a man possessed out there what he's been doing on defense, but. The offense, put 30 up. I think the defense has scored, one touchdown. I think they scored 1 touchdown, maybe, I believe, this weekend. The defense did. Scored twice.
Yeah.
And then I think last weekend they scored 2. So they're putting this, I don't know how many, I don't got the stat. Me, I'm more of a eye test type of man. You guys always bring the stats, but I'm pretty sure they haven't scored that many drives with the Cowboys themselves actually doing that. So let's wait till we play some better teams here with better quarterback play to actually put the pressure back on Dak to see if he can show up. Because I know he's in the press game talking about, I don't want to talk about turnovers. Once you leave the turnovers one time, they're always going to talk about it. Yeah, buddy, they are going to keep talking about it. If you led the turnovers last year, they're going to talk about it this year. That's just common sense. So because he was trying to say, why are we still talking about this? I get it. It's the past. But still, we're basing what you did your last year's performance on maybe what you might do this year. That's why those questions are being asked. You don't see them questions being asked to Patrick Mahomes because he did not lead the lead in picks last year. So that's all what to say with these Cowboys. Yes, you should be very, very happy that this defense could take you a long way, which is actually very good for the Dallas Cowboy fans. That means there won't be pressure for, hopefully, to Dak to win you games, and it's not going to be all relied on him. But at some point in time, just like some point in time, it's going to come down to the Eagles. Some point in time, it's going to come to Mr. Brock Purdy. It's going to come down to Mr. Dak Prescott making a few clutch plays to help them win some ball games in playoff time. So that's still to be determined.
All right. Well, Jaevon, what did you think about the Cowboys? Are they the best defense in the NFL?
I actually think so. This comes from a Niner fan myself. Just
Respect.
seeing that the turnovers that they've been able to cause. Now they have played some pedestrian ass quarterbacks in Zach Wilson and Daniel Jones, but they've been making them look pretty bad. Obviously the 40-0 loss was crazy, and then Zach Wilson looking like a deer in headlights. Dan Quinn he's looking like he's the best defensive coordinator in football, in my opinion. Just the way how he's been able to utilize the talent that he has. Obviously, having Micah Parsons, I think they have the best secondary in the league, and Stephon Gilmore and Trayvon Diggs. So, with that being said, if the defense is able to give the offense multiple possessions, I've kind of just been saying that pretty frequently throughout the podcast. If your defense is able to give your offense more possessions, extra possessions, then you're going to have a better chance of winning football games. And we saw that Dak Prescott said in the preseason, hey, I'm throwing under 10 picks this year. Well, he's on track to do that. Now, they did play some, the quarterbacks that they play earlier or very early into the season aren't, top 10 material. I think once they start to get into league play a little bit more, playing against the Eagles, playing against Commanders, we'll see, he might start to throw a couple of picks, but Dak Prescott's been playing solid. He hasn't really been, kind of winning you the games. I feel like the defense has been winning them games, and they just get put in these positions like, oh, we're on the 40-yard line, and we're on their side of the field already. And so, Cowboy fans are going to be, in that realm. We're like, oh, we're the best team in the league. This, that. I was like, yeah, you guys look very solid. One of the 2-0 teams in the league.
Got to beat us first.
The defense has been playing out of its freaking mind. Like the defense has been playing like crazy. Like they've been scoring. Like when your defense is able to score, like it's gonna be tough for you to beat. So, let's just settle in a little bit. Like Stephen A. says, just wait. You just wait. They're gonna fail you one way or another. But this is a dominating victory. They made Zach Wilson look like how Zach Wilson is supposed to look against this Cowboys defense. So, Micah Parsons was a defensive player of the year candidate, and we'll see where it takes him. But the Cowboys have been looking pretty solid this year.
Most definitely. The Cowboys have certainly earned my respect. And I think the stat that Bob sent me recently was, and by the way, just for our audio-only listeners, Kevin had to bounce because since we are recording now an hour and a half later than our previous time, and he wakes up very early every morning. And so you can expect moving forward that about 90 minutes through each episode that Kevin's going to have to depart. And so Cowboys Nation, he didn't depart because of you. It's because he has to.
You drove him away, guys.
Hey, we appreciate Rob, man. We appreciate the banter and just make the sparks fly in here. There you go.
You made him
appreciate the support, though. Look, put his last thing up. He said something, no disrespect. Yeah. He wants to make a bet. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, so for our audio-only listeners, my guy Bob finished off by saying, sorry, no disrespect. Let's put some scratch on the Cowboys game, though. Real talk. Send me that Venmo. So I'll get you guys linked up, and then you guys can figure out if
it's about, baby. Talking shit and put a little money on it, having a little fun. It's all good.
Now, when he says Cowboy games, is he talking about the Cowboy Commander game or Eagles Commander game? Is he?
No, he's talking about
Manny's too real quick.
Yeah. And Bob, I got you, Gary. But real quickly, Jaevon, to answer your question, Bob is talking about the Cowboys and Eagles game. He's likely talking about that one because
can't wait for that.
Kevin got him. Yeah, he is, and I will say Kevin got him. He called him on his bluff on that one. And but I mean, Bob is confident in his Cowboys against the Eagles, so we'll see if that does come to fruition. And right,
we needed one of the Cowboys lovers, one of my uncle, one of these guys, Jesse, to come through.
Well, I was talking with Bob, and I was saying like, man, like we have so many Cowboys fans that tune into our podcast. We might have to have. we might have to have one Cowboys fan to preview the game leading up to the 49ers game, and then one after to recap the game. So maybe we have Bob on. Maybe we have Bob on to recap it because he'll be in misery after the game. And we can have maybe Uncle Manny join us for the preview of that game. And Uncle Manny, always locking in with us on YouTube, says, Eagles fans need rest. Well, I'll let Kevin answer that next week. Anyways, guys.
That's undefeated against the Cowboys or the Eagles in his career. So
that's a hell of a stat right there, Jaevon. And
what's the W's though? Is it like 2-0, 3-0?
No, he's like
I think he's been in the league for like 7 years.
Yeah. But he was injured, a couple of those times,
Yeah.
Okay, but that's
still
gotta be
a couple of those games. So
that's still gotta be like 7-8-0 though.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll check it out.
Missing some stat for us. He probably
someone look up that stat for us. I want to hear that. But speaking of stats, Bob mentioned this to me, and he said, throw this out on Stats Over Politics. So you're welcome, Bob. Thanks for tuning in. He says, Dallas has scored 70 points and only given up 10 in 2 weeks. And the offense isn't even humming yet. It is a hell of a stat. So
defense scored those points.
Well, I was about to say, the whole point of me saying earlier that the defense scored like 4 touchdowns. That's why I said, can you minus that? And let's see what the real is.
Still the offense.
It's still up there like 40. It's up there still.
I was about to say the offense still
50.
scored over 40 points through 3 games or 2 games, actually. It only allowed, regardless of what you want to say about the 2 New York quarterbacks between Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson, for the Cowboys to only give up 10 points over 2 games, that is impressive. Because we saw the 49ers give up 7 points in week 1 to Gary's lowly Steelers. Nowhere to go up. But up. But the 49ers, they gave up 23 points to the Rams. And so, respect to the Cowboys. I will give them their respect.
We'll give respect to the Cowboys right now.
All right. So, guys, last 2 games that we're going to talk about in depth here on episode number 51. Sean Holko alongside Gary Singh and Jaevon Toddy. So, the Dolphins, they beat the Patriots 24-17 on Sunday Night Football. And Jaevon, a little bit of a crazy play there at the end as Mike Gesicki, former Dolphin, made a heads-up play at the end to pitch it back to his lineman, but unfortunately they ruled it short and the Dolphins ultimately won. And my favorite thing from this game was going into halftime. Mike McDaniel saw the cameraman jogging right next to him, and he went into a full sprint. Mike McDaniel has probably got to be the most entertaining coach in the NFL for me. But, I love that guy. Anyways, Jaevon, what did you think about Sunday Night Football?
I did pick the Dolphins to win this game. I just thought that, the way that the Dolphins' offense has looked has been pretty explosive. Probably one of the better teams in the league. I think now, as of we're all speaking, they're sitting at 2-0. So the way that the circumstances are looking, due to Aaron Rodgers kind of going out, the Bills looking okay. The Dolphins are kind of in the driver's seat, and I think they're the betting favorite to win the division as of right now. I don't think this Patriots team really has any juice. They don't really have that much speed on the outside as far as receiver go. I feel like most of their receivers are possession based. They don't really create a lot of explosive plays, and they look just a little bit pedestrian on offense. They didn't really score until they ended up putting up 17 points, but they didn't really score until late into the game. And then Mike Gesicki having that lateral to Cole Strange, who was I think it was a draft pick last year for the Patriots, and I thought he got the first down, but didn't do that. Tua's been looking pretty solid. A lot of people are trying to, push Tua into that top 10 range after those 2 games. But I think Mike McDaniel's definitely – he could be a candidate for Coach of the Year. Their team keeps 100%. Playing the way that they're playing. Mm-hmm. Raheem Mostert. It's basically Niner South down there. You think about it. He takes all our players.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm not hating on it. I love to see Mike McDaniel win. They did come to
maybe
Levi's.
It's North over there.
They came to Levi's last year, and we did slap him around. That was Brock Purdy's first game. Wasn't as a starter, but that was the game he kind of came in and just, oh shit, I'm out here running around. And no, I just think this. I think we were all pretty much on the same way as the Dolphins. If Tua's healthy, they could be a solid team, but we just don't know the health And so far, they've been playing lights out. And Raheem Mostert did have 2 rushing touchdowns in this game, what I thought was the difference. Another guy who did score 4 touchdowns in the 2019 NFC Championship game. By the way, just want to point that out there. But this Dolphins team is for real. It's for real. Are we seeing the just Patriots kind of just starting to fade away a little bit? I mean, last
slowly
year
die.
What's the status of Bill?
12 left. What they've been doing since then?
I think they have a losing record since Tom left, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
As expected.
Could be wrong. But Dolphins are for real.
And just to follow up on our question of what is Dak Prescott's record against the Philadelphia Eagles, shout out to Uncle Manny for throwing the stat into the comments. Dak isn't undefeated, but he has a fantastic record against the Eagles. 8-3 against Philly in his career. And if that trend continues, then Bob's going to win some money from Kevin. So we shall see.
For Kevin's sake, I think you'd probably say, how many games did Jalen Hurts play?
Yeah.
Just FYI. I got to make sure I got my boy Kev real quick. Yeah. Anyways.
Devil's Advocate. Devil's Advocate. What did you think about the Dolphins game?
I know when D'Lo was with us earlier, I totally wanted to say when he said Justin Jefferson was the best, like there's no difference. That's why I heard it. I was like, Tyreek Hill, hold on now. Because this man, I'm telling every week we know who's getting the ball. We know exactly what's happened, and he's on the way. You seen some catches today. I know you seen some catches today. Yeah. Anyways.
Not with Kenneth as his quarterback. I'm sorry.
100 yards. Anyways. All right. Anyways, I was just going to say, this is one of the ones that's eating me alive. I'm not going to lie in terms of my pick. I'm looking at my preseason picks, and I'm so pissed because literally what Vaughn said is what creeped in my mind. I was leaning towards the Dolphins, and I was like, I don't think Tua's going to make it. I just don't think Tua's going to make it. I'm just going to be safe. I'm going to pick the Jets, and look, their quarterback gets injured instead of the one I actually predicted. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait till we get midseason predictions because I'm about to be riding this Miami's bandwagon. I don't want to ride it now, but it's crazy. I don't even have them in my picks right now. But just to say, I'm already going to say that was going to be wrong, and they're going to make the playoffs most definitely. And I can't wait to see it because, yes, it's sad to say they are you guys in the South, I guess you can say, because their coach is just scheming Southeast. Up great plays. And I'm so jealous because I feel like my team has so many of the same weapons that these teams do, but our offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, sucks ass, as we all seen today. But anyway, this is a side note. This Dolphins team is cooking. They pretty much control this whole game. I was watching it too with primetime. It was 17-3 by fourth quarter. It was pretty much in the bag. They let go of the gas a little bit. Obviously, Bill Belichick special, making that thing happen with that kick that off that field goal getting blocked from a running man from all the way from the left corner. Now we're going to be seeing, like Pat McAfee said on his show today, we're going to see copycat league. We're going to be seeing those weird things probably happen now since Bill's bringing him in. One thing you can't say about Bill, even he's one of the greatest coaches of all time, and obviously we mentioned his probably record and under 500 records since the departure of Mr. GOAT Tom Brady himself. But at the end of the day, he's still great, as you can see, because he still has his team not as where it was before, but it's still in contention and fighting in these games with also, I think you could throw Mac Jones in that quarterback thing too, Sean, this FYI of all the shitless quarterbacks you keep naming with Kenny Pickett and Daniel Jones. Okay, and just making sure, add him to the list too. So I would just say that they should have done this. Was what should have happened. They're on the track. They let go a little gas, which is not good because if you're trying to build a winning culture like you already know, keep building on what you built last year. You kind of want to keep dominating the team you're supposed to dominate. Obviously, that's what I've been saying for you guys' team. But we have seen you guys dominate before. I'm ready to see the Dolphins have more domination until people try to figure them out, and then they have to readjust again and show who they are because people are going to readjust at some point because they're not going to let, obviously, what happened last week. Tyreek Hill going crazy on them. So there's going to be adjustments. I'm really interested to see what the Dolphins do to combat that and basically prove that, like you guys said earlier, that the coach should be one of the in contention of coach of the year this year. If everyone stays healthy, like we keep saying to every team, if everyone stays healthy, everyone stays healthy. But this quarterback right here, we all know he's been getting a lot of slander, a lot of slander from a lot of different people, from Miami Dolphins fans themselves. So I think it's about time that, like Vaughn said, if we're saying that if you're healthy, you matter, that is actually indirectly saying that, you're a really great quarterback and that you actually affect the win and loss column. And that's what this league is about. So you got to give Tua. He might not be a perfect quarterback in terms of throwing, a deep ball or not a deep ball, but he might not be perfect every which way you want him. But he's making the throws, he's making it happen, he's getting his guys, he's getting the playmakers the ball, and they're making stuff happen. So that's all you can ask for a quarterback, and his rest of his team is doing good. Might be a little bit shaky on the defense. We'll see a little bit. They're like in the middle right now. We'll see what's going to look like, but because that might be like Achilles heel. They might need to tighten that up to really maybe take the next leap, I feel like. But offensively,
Rams are coming back too.
Yeah, offensively, they're right there, and that's all that matters in this league. We talked about with Von's cousin in the beginning of the year, Mikhail, right? In the beginning of the year, that Michael. Sorry, I messed up again. Michael, that basically that if you can score 24 points in this league and you can score points nowadays, you can have a chance. So that's what they got going on.
Certainly. And now, Gary, the last game that we're going to talk about in depth is your favorite team and also the best Monday Night Football game of this week, because we did get two this week in the doubleheader. Understandably, they gave the Jets the spotlight on 9/11 last week, and so we got the season opening doubleheader in week 2. Saints and the Panthers. I didn't see that at all, but according to Jaevon, it was a bit of a stinker, and so we'll talk about that in our quick recap. Now let's get to the best game of Monday night, that being the Steelers beating the Browns 26-22. Our guy Damien Barling said when he joined us earlier that Deshaun Watson, a.k.a. what I call him, the nasty man, he had another disappointing performance, and he has not been the same since those nasty transgressions. Anyways, Jaevon, the Steelers, they beat the Browns 26-22, and so let's get the unbiased take first.
Well, I did have the Browns on my parlay, and they ruined that. So let's just thank you, Deshaun Watson. I feel like they came. I didn't think Deshaun played great in this game. It was 22 of 40, 235 yards, touchdown, pick. Came out first play of the game, turnover, pick 6. That's 7 points right there. Had a fumble. He gave up a fumble 6, and TJ Watt, who probably looks like I think right now TJ Watt is probably the best defensive tackle D lineman in the league right now. And I know that's saying that he's better than Micah Parsons. I'm just looking at, you could probably look up his numbers. His numbers are probably better than Micah Parsons.
Stats over politics.
TJ is he just causes havoc pretty much on every single play of the game. He needs to take better care of the ball. I didn't think on a couple of deep balls, it was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, nobody's in that vicinity. Out of Deshaun, I don't know what it is. I feel like he's kind of taking that Russell Wilson effect, if that makes sense. Like, he goes to a new team and Russell Wilson you're not what we thought you would have been. Like, Russell Wilson's been playing like dog shit, and Deshaun, you make it sound good, but it's really bad. Like dog shit. Like, it's not good when you're getting paid all this money. Like, Russell Wilson got paid $200+ million, and Deshaun got $200+ million guaranteed.
Fully, and first time.
And they both look very pedestrian. So, and that's in the first couple of games of the season. We'll see where they are week 10, week 12, Thanksgiving. But Deshaun Watson did not play well. Now, Kenny Pickett, I thought he played better than he did in week 1. That George Pickens connection kind of got going a little bit. We saw him get the ball a lot more in this game. We saw a little bit, some flashes from Najee Harris. Thought he could have got a little bit more carries later into the game. But I think the Steelers' defense was probably the story of the game, being able to score off of 2 turnovers. In the
first 10 seconds.
If your defense is able to score, like we said this multiple times in the podcast, mainly referring to the Cowboys, but if your defense is able to score points, it's going to be hard for the other team to win games. In this case, they were able to score 2 touchdowns. It's 14 points because Deshaun Watson does not take care of the freaking football. Sorry, that was the gambling me that came out. But I think the Steelers are like, hold on, we're not going to be the worst team in this division. It could be the Browns, could be the Bengals. Right now, it's the Bengals because they are 0-2. But Tugla Guinea kind of came out and didn't lose them the game, if that makes sense. And I feel like if they develop that relationship with George Pickens, It could be a very scary combo. And we did see that Deontay Johnson is going to be on IR as well, so he'll be missing at least the next 4 games. And that's a big blow to their offense.
Without a doubt, Gary. So this is your account. What did you think of your Stillers, as I said to my friend Keith earlier?
Stillers.
Well, I'm happy we got our first win of this season. Who?
Real quickly, to answer Jaevon's question, Keith Joganatis, my friend.
Oh, Keith.
He is probably, and I said this to him earlier, so I will say it on the podcast. He is probably the most up and down fan that I have ever met in my life. I was covering a volleyball game earlier.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We should have had him on for before week 1 because man, oh man, I'll just say real quickly, I don't want to go into a tangent about Keith, but I'm at a high school volleyball game earlier covering it for my job, not watching any of the Monday Night Football games because of it. And I'm getting text from Keith, literally like the play-by-play from Keith from the game. And he's saying, oh my God, we're done. The season's over. Just kidding. We're back. We're going to the playoffs. And he's just back and forth.
I can't do what Keith does. I can't do like, brother, my heart will give out. I just kind of go and the big plays and those quiet plays as Von them see me. I'm just sitting there. I ain't trying to talk about the negativity.
Yeah, and so he is probably the most roller coaster Steelers fan that I know, or sports fan in general.
We're done. Now we're
going. Shout out to my friend Keith though, because in addition to the $100 that I took from Gary in week 1, I took 50 from Keith. So shout out to my boy Keith. We appreciate you. Go ahead,
Keith. We're gonna get him back later, man. Don't worry about it. One of these days. But back to what I was saying, my Steelers. Like Vaughn said, that is a big blow for one of our losing one of our receivers. But at the end of the day, we also have a lot really good in that department, the receiving department. So I expect someone to step up. And I talked about it earlier. Anything else to talk about? Y'all watch our offense. We got so many weapons that people can fire. That's what I always tell people. Don't pick Steelers as your fantasy. Do not pick. Shaun, remember that? I remember Shaun a couple years ago. It was, I don't think about the first year I played with Shaun. He had, I think, 2 of my Steelers, and I think maybe Le'Veon Bell or something. The top, maybe Antonio Brown.
Chase Claypool. It was Chase Claypool, and I think it was Freiermuth.
Exactly. And as you can see, we are throw it to whoever's open type of team, but ain't no one ever open because Matt Canada fucking sucks. I'm sorry to say that. And all my Steeler Nation would agree with that because we've been tooting this horn for quite a while. I follow my fan page and everyone's always getting on him because literally y'all see why. Because you know how many 3 and outs we play behind, like my coach always says, we're always behind the sticks. We're 3rd and 8, 3rd and long every single time because we can never make good plays. And I'm not gonna lie, we can't establish the run right now. As you mentioned earlier, Vaughn, it's kind of been weird. We were really starting to churn last year with Harris at the end of the year last year. But this year, again, we starting off slow again. Hopefully we can get that back rolling. So that would really help Kenny and help this offense just to calm down, not get rushed so much. Again, we did play the top 2, one of the top defensive lines this past 2 weeks. Obviously, probably put my young buck under a lot of pressure. But like I mentioned, I'm going to wait till Thanksgiving to get my full-on opinion, yes, yay or nay, for my guy Kenny Pickett. But I'm happy today, guys. We got a W. I'm so happy. Right when I went to the gym, and right when I turned my phone on the sauna, boom, I see us running a touchdown first 10 seconds. I'm like, oh, yeah, we're ready to be coming back in week 2, baby. I was hoping we wouldn't, have too much of a slow start and, start feeding into our psyches and things of that nature. You know how football goes when, you start just relying, falling into some traps. So I'm just happy my team bounced back with a win. We obviously have, hopefully our defense can keep on par here and keep causing havoc to give us a chance to win this game. And we just need to score just as many points as we can with this offense that we have. Simple as that. I don't like what we run, but we got some weapons. So hopefully we can keep making some hard catches and make some good plays when they count. Simple as that. But hey, shout out to my defense, 2 touchdowns. And I got my Steelers defense in all my fantasy leagues. So I got me 3 dubs this week. They got me 3 dubs this week. Big time. Let's go. Come on, let's get it.
Speaking of fantasy football, it's been a tough start to the year for me. I guess karma's coming for me because I started week 1. I was 0-3 in my 3 leagues. I won 1 matchup in the Holko's House Fantasy Football League this week. I beat my cousin in Colorado.
I'm curious now, actually.
Shaun
I don't know.
I told you, Vaughn. We try to help you, brother. We try to help you, but it's okay. The first one, we'll let you get slapped on the face your first rookie year. Go ahead,
I plead
Shaun.
the fifth. Anyways, so I started 0-3 in week 1, and I did win one matchup in my Hoko's House Fantasy Football League that I am the reigning back-to-back champion in. I will just say that Gary's in that league. I beat my cousin. I know no one fucking cares, but I'm getting to the point. I beat my cousin in Colorado, who's a CU alum, so he's happy enough watching primetime. But anyways, yeah, right? And so the point is, I won one matchup this week, and I lost the other two. You know how many points I lost the other two by? A combined 2 matchups, I lost by 1.46.
Welcome to fantasy.
Matchup by 1.46. I lost to my guy Marty, my cousin Chris's friend, by 0.36 points in my Dynasty Football League. No, not Marty Holko. Marty, another Marty with an H, Marty Heron Schmidt. We call him Heron Shit. So there you go.
Hey, whoa.
Shout out to Marty. But shout out to our guy Kevin as well, who the nasty man almost lost it for him at the end, but Kevin pulled out the victory against
Did Vaughn win this week?
I believe Vaughn,
you 0-2 this week, 0-2 so far in fantasy.
Let me look real quick.
Oh, come on, Vaughn. We gotta look at the line on, man.
Jaevon lost to Alyssa, Kevin's wife, and Gary beat James. So there you go.
Okay,
but anyways,
out.
I lost to Kevin 100 to 98.9 by 1.1 points. So Kevin, if you're watching, congratulations, you beat me. I am now 0-2 in our Stats Over Politics Fantasy Football League, and that's fantasy sports for you. You guys talked about fantasy, so I just had to talk about it real quick as well as we wrap things up here on episode number 51 of Stats Over Politics. We're over 2 hours, so it's time to wrap things up, but we got 2 final things. We got to get to our speedy, quick NFL Week 2 recap, and then Jaevon, if you got your picks ready for us, we want to hear Vonny's hotline because you're 7-1 over the last 2 weeks. And so you are just handing out free money everywhere. And so we want to hear Vonny's hotline to close things out. But first, gentlemen, let's get to our quick NFL Week 2 recap. Gary, I'm tossing things to you first. The Bills beat the Raiders 38-10.
The Bills beat the Raiders as they should. It must be a bounce back game for the Bills. I think Rob mentioned in the comments that, Mr. Turnover Machine Josh Allen should be in that category too, and I agree with you. He should be in that discussion right now because he has been doing bad things, just playing Favre-like, basically. It reminds me of Favre, where he's a gunslinger, he's going to take chances. So you're going to take it. You're going to take the amazing plays. You're going to take the so-so plays. That's how it's going to come down to. I wouldn't like that for my quarterback. That's why I've never really been riding the Bills bandwagon, but give the Bills credit where credit is due. They came back, bounced back as they should, and beat the Raiders, who are sorry. We'll be playing next week. That's why I'm calling them sorry.
All right, Jaevon.
And I might be in the building.
Ooh.
For my first ever Vegas respect. We'll see. I don't want to know. We'll see.
Big Balla. All right, Jaevon. J Balla. The Chiefs beat the Jaguars 17-9.
Another bounce back game. Chris Jones, he made his return, and also Travis Kelce returned. Feel like I think Chris Jones had 2 sacks in this game, so his presence was definitely felt. Travis Kelce got a touchdown. The Chiefs did not play particularly great in this game, but they played.
Their defense is number 1.
Everyone's defense is number 1, I guess. So the Jags really couldn't score. They couldn't score in the red zone. Trevor Lawrence struggled to find Calvin Ridley.
Where's Kevin right now? I want to talk shit about Jacksonville.
The Jags.
9 points, Kev?
Yeah, they only put up 9 points in this game. So
you might be watching.
The Jags weren't really able to score in the red zone. The Chiefs were able. Chris Jones said after the game that they ultimately knew that the Chiefs were going to end up scoring some points for them because they were getting so many stops for them. So I feel like, with those guys having back, there might be a little bit of restoring to normalcy. But, Chiefs bounced back.
Scary. Chiefs' best defense they had in Patrick Mahomes' era.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Gary, this is your division. The Ravens beat the Bengals 27-24, and Joe Shiesty is 0-2 since getting paid.
I called this one because I already knew Ravens are clicking on all cylinders. They're a team right too. Like, I didn't know who to pick. Zay Flowers, who I want to pick. Thank God I picked him because he's been cooking so far this year in fantasy as well. And the Ravens, you know, they're going to be something to deal with. We were talking my division. We talked about this year. Everyone's pretty good, but Lamar Jackson, MVP number 2, trying to plead his case. Let's see. I don't know. It's coming around the corner.
Lamar's played good.
He's been playing good. He's been hitting those deep balls. They've been fun to watch. They again hit with a lot of injuries again, but they keep on trucking and keep on doing what they do. Big win versus the Bengals, and yeah, the Bengals starting off 0-2 again last year, just like last year. You can't keep doing this every year. I got the Bengals win the division. I still believe in Joe Shiesty. I still believe in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and all the guys they got. But at the end of the day,
my guy T. Higgins.
At some point, you can't keep doing the same thing every year. So, you know, it's coming back to bite him that Joe didn't play in the preseason again due to injury and, you know, missed kind of training camp. So, again, these teams, one thing I want to harp on, these teams keep talking about we start off slow. This is our extended preseason. But no, it's not. It's on your record. And you should start maybe taking some pages out of other teams' books that go back to playing a couple regular season games so you can get the rust off instead of coming out week 1 trying to be fresh, but at the same time you're not fresh mentally, physically, really. I just don't feel like it's just smart. That's the whole reason of preseason. So that's just a side note. I just feel like the issue in some of these teams are, especially I feel like the offenses, they take a little while to cook up because the defenses are, you know, there's less planning involved. That's why they're really killing the beginning of the year. If you notice the last few years, always killing the beginning of the year, and the offenses start turning up at the end of the year because they'll be cooking by the end of the year. So that being said, the Bengals will bounce back. I don't know who they play next week, but hey, they better not go 0-3 because 0-3 is a tough hole. I don't know if I think 0-3 is like there's a bad record with 0-3 and 0-4 starting not making the playoffs and everything. So they should this is
Monday night.
Oh, they got lucky. They might, and it's like we just seen. We got a scratchy Rams team. So let's see.
Scratchy.
And then that's a Super Bowl. That's a Super Bowl rematch. So
there you go. And so Jaevon, the Titans, they beat the Chargers 27-24 in overtime. Shout out to Evan.
Scrappy.
Surprise game for me. I think we all picked the Chargers to win this game.
We sure did. And they came after us in the comments at Stats Over Politics on Instagram.
They definitely did. I do think this Titans team is another scratchy team, as Gary says. If Derrick Henry can kind of get the ball rolling and they're able to get the ball in his hands, then they'll be able to fire on all cylinders. If Brian Tannehill is able to complete deep balls and actually to be able to thrive in the passing game, then this team can go very far. I think their defense is very underrated. They have a solid defensive line, a solid secondary, as Evan would say. So I think they have a top coach in the league. Vrabel's always a guy that's going to fight like hell, and they're not going to be one of those bottom teams because they're so well coached. And, you know, DeAndre Hopkins, we saw DeAndre Hopkins sighting. He was able to get a couple of touches. Treylon Burks had a nice deep pass down the sideline late in the game, and they ultimately end up winning in overtime. And I think if Tannehill is able to, you know, play above average, then this team can win some games because I think
fire Brian and Staley. Come on, Von, waiting for you to say it's time to fire the man.
Probably
they're not clutch. So at the end of the day, it comes down on the feet of
for them to be losing games.
Exactly, Vaughn. It comes at the end of the day. It's been too long and too many times that there's been placed at his feet. And Brandon Staley, and I hate blaming the coaches. At the end of the day, players play, coaches coach. You feel me? At the end of the day, you're on the field, and I feel like that's more. I kind of tailor that more towards basketball. To be honest with you, football, I feel like the coaching does really highly more matter compared to other sports. But still,
it's going at reporters.
Simple going out report because you're having frustration, buddy, because you guys are not clutch. And I feel bad because Justin Herbert should be a clutch type player. I still remember when he was going down throwing darts versus the Raiders in that team to punch my team into the playoffs a few years ago. And I know Chargers fans, man. I got my barber's a Chargers fan, Zay the barber, and I know he hates. I'm pretty sure he hates his head coach, and as he should, because at the end of the day, this, like you just said, Vaughn, it's too much firepower not to be winning these games. Simple as that.
They didn't lose because of Herbert. He threw for 305 and 2 touchdowns. So
they went 3-and-out, or did they go 3-and-out in overtime?
Yeah.
But what was that? What was that drive?
Yeah.
That should be game over. That should be you got the best quarterback in the game. It's game over.
Yeah.
It's a TD.
At the end of the day, I know that Austin Eckler didn't play in this week 2 game, but if you have a roster with Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, I'll even throw Mike Williams in there on offense. And then you have a defense with Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. Come on, man. I agree, and I make that unanimous. I don't know. Jaevon may not be there yet, but to me, Brandon Staley needs to be.
Is he a defensive coach? Am I forgetting? He
is a defensive head coach, and he has those three monsters, and yet we see what happens. And they had, what was it, a 27-0 lead in the playoffs last year, and then they just let it go to Kevin's Jaguars?
This has nothing to do with the Jacksonville game.
It doesn't, though, but it's the same trend. And you know what? I feel like we're hating on this team a lot, but it's like because we believe in Herbert's greatness that we want him to succeed. And I know me and Shaun think that he's better than we had the debate, I think, preseason versus Trevor Lawrence. Even though he lost that playoff game, I still believe Justin Herbert is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. I know it's nip and tuck, but I still believe he is. And this is not pleading this case. So we got to get this man some W's in the clutch. At some point, it is going to come down to Justin Herbert, though, because at some point, we're going to stop pointing the finger at the head coach and say, can you get it done? And it might be just the Chargers are cursed.
All right, Jaevon, Gary, the Falcons beat the Packers 25-24. Shout out to Atlanta for finally winning a close game.
Atlanta.
Yep, I did not get this one where I picked Green Bay and Atlanta. They got a lot of weapons. Hey, they know. They run the ball. They're not giving their quarterback that many throws. They run that ball. And B.J. Robinson and the other guy, I'm forgetting his other name right now, but they just been killing it. Yeah, Aguilar. I can't say his last name, but Algier. Them two have been killing in the backfield, doing their thing. And yeah, they got offensive weapons, so they can put some points up and they can make it tough. So I give it to Atlanta. They've been scratching, they've been fighting. I'm pretty sure they got a new head coach this year, right? So they're trying to turn around. So this is a good win for them because I bet you it was one of the teams this year that where we would have probably predicted that wouldn't win too many games. So yeah, they're a little scratchy.
You know who else is scratchy? It's the Lions who lost to the Seahawks in overtime. The Seahawks beat the Lions 37-31 in overtime. It pains my heart to say that, but shout out to Manny. What did you think of it, Jaevon?
Yeah, shout out to my boy Kyle, who gave me a ride yesterday from Sophia's dad's house. But he's a Seahawks fan. And, yeah, he was telling me, I was like, you guys won today? He was like, yeah, Geno threw a walk-off. I was like, oh, Geno started. He's not riding back yet. He ain't run back. Yeah, the Seahawks team is very scratchy, as Gary would say. But I think a lot of people wanted to just say
that's the word of the day.
The word of the night. I think a lot of people were starting to anoint this Lions team, oh, we beat the Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champs. We're coming for the league, and everyone's wearing ski masks and this, that, and the third. And they kind of, looked.
It's a trap game.
I wouldn't say it's a trap game. They kind of
as in like
how they're supposed to look, like the Seahawks, Lions. I think we all view kind of like in that same category of where they would be in the NFC is one of those middle teams that probably could make the playoffs, but they're not going to be one of the best teams in the NFC. There was some news that C.J. Gardner-Johnson might be out with a torn pec for the whole year. That's not good news.
That sucks.
He was an anchor for the defense on that defensive back end, and we'll see going forward with this Lions team and how they will bounce back. I thought Jared Goff played okay.
Putting some points up.
He threw for 323 yards. I think he had like the longest streak of not having a pick in a game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, he did.
And ended up throwing a pick in this game. But he threw 3 touchdowns, 323 yards. It was very close. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who we talked about earlier on the show, had 100 yards receiving. So, and I feel like this team is missing Jameson Williams, who's suspended for 6 games. So, for gambling he's also putting those parlays in. He's probably watching the Lions hotline, which we'll do later in the show. But yeah, this Lions team, we haven't seen the last of them, but I think don't write off the Lions yet because I think they'll still be really good in the NFC.
So Gary, the Colts, they lost Anthony Richardson to a concussion, but Minshew mania leads them to a 30-20 win over the Texans.
It's whatever. To get that guy a line. Come on now. Both of these teams suck. Move on, Shaun.
Hey, right. I think this Colts team is, if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy, I think Anthony Richardson can be a dude.
No, he could be good, but they're gonna. As you can see, he's out. He's out, Vaughn. They need a line, and he needs help.
I don't think their line has to be great. I just think they just need to be able to manage, be able to protect him.
They actually need to be a little bit good, or he's going to be doing the run around all the time, and that's not going to last at the end of the day.
Yeah, but he also needs to play smarter though, because he's going heads with guys, and he's going for contact with guys like he's still in college. But the reality is that these guys, in college, you have maybe 10 to 20% of guys that are his size. In the NFL, basically everyone is his size, maybe 80%. And so he can't be doing that anymore.
Stroud put up some crazy numbers.
Yeah. From the Ohio State University. All right, so the Buccaneers, they beat the Bears 27-17, Jaevon.
Baker Mayfield is playing well. He's been looking good.
Baker Mayfield.
They're tied for first in their division. They're 2-0. I don't know. Kev doesn't want to hear, but they're going to give them fits on Monday night. Definitely look out for that. I don't know if that game is in.
It's in Tampa.
It's in Tampa, so it's a road game. Could be a trap game for the Eagles. They could look past this game and be like, "Hey, this is the Bucs. This isn't the same old Bucs." Even with Tom Brady, I think Mike Evans had like a streak where he didn't score a touchdown. It was like 11 games where Mike Evans didn't score a touchdown back-to-back weeks. Mike Evans has a touchdown. We had a factor cap earlier in, I don't know which episode it was. It was said, will Mike Evans not, will he will he not have 1,000 yards this year? I think we all said cap, if I'm not mistaken. He's looking like he's on pace to keep that streak alive. So this Bucs team could be very sneaky, could be a team that kind of backdoors their way into the playoffs if they keep playing the way that they're playing. And yeah, Baker Mayfield has been
how long, Baker? We'll see.
This is the number 1 overall pick for a reason. Let's just say that he was the number 1 overall pick at one point.
Bounced around, didn't he?
But then you can say, oh, Jameis Winston was number 1 overall pick at one point in time. Just that and the third, Johnny, all these other guys. So Baker's been playing good. I think I'm a lot higher on him than a lot more people are. I said you should pick him up in fantasy because he's been putting up numbers. So, yeah, Bucs are for real, I think.
All right, so Jaevon, I'm going to toss this back to you just because this is a division rival and the team that we being 49ers fans are going to see on Thursday night as the Giants beat the Cardinals 31-28 in Arizona.
Could the Cardinals be a scratchy team as well, too? I'm not sure. I picked them to win.
They're going to be scratching for Caleb Williams is what they're doing.
But they've been fighting this week, I'm not going to lie.
I picked them to win just because I think it was a home game. The Giants were coming off a loss. And for the first 2.5, 3 quarters, I looked like a fortune teller. And then, the Giants kind of went on a run. Saquon went berserk, who ultimately did get hurt in this game with a high ankle sprain out for multiple weeks, I think up to 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Daniel Jones, Sean fleeced me for Daniel Jones, and he played very well.
Suddenly you love Daniel Jones? Okay.
I don't love him, but he put up numbers in this game, so now it looks like it was a terrible.
You made this trade after week 1 too, Vaughn. Let's remember that. That was a rookie mistake on you.
We actually confirmed the trade during the Steelers and 49ers game before you got there.
Yeah.
We were discussing and all that. You could have easily retracted.
Yeah, but Daniel Jones played well in this game. Vanilla Big, as Sean likes to call him. They made enough plays to come out on top of a team that's going to be picking number 1 overall. So I don't know what you want to take away from this game, but Saquon Barkley got hurt. That's probably the takeaway of the game is he's the best player on either of these teams, and he's probably going to be out for the next 4 games probably.
Well, Gary, the Commanders, they beat the Broncos 35-32.
Thank you.
Oh, the Commanders. So, you know what? Denver is pretty much season on the line next week. Season on the line. They're not a type of team that I feel like they can make a miraculous run, especially the way Russell Wilson's been playing, especially how Sean Payton's basically been throwing him under the bus that he might need. What do you call it? The quarterback wristband, basically. And we need to get out the huddle quick. He's basically throwing dish shots at Russ right in his face after he was trying
to hate each other.
Yeah, basically. And at the beginning of the year, he was basically like, oh, yeah, I love Russell Wilson. It wasn't his fault. The coach was horrible here. Everything there was pretty shitty. Well, yeah, that guy was part of the shit too. So it's like, I'm kind of sad to see this because, to be honest, I was a Russell Wilson fan. I wanted him to maybe get one MVP.
Thought it was back in that first half. It looked like he was old Russell Wilson. Yeah.
Man, he was knocking at the door last few years. I always wanted him to win the MVP, especially the last few years because he was always knocking on that door. But he never ever got it. He probably never will. And it's so funny because he got so many years on this contract that extended him last year. Hasn't even started with his new money even coming in yet. So like you said, Vaughn, let's see what Sean Payton's probably have to deal with this problem, I guess. I don't know what else he's going to have to do unless he wants to. I don't know. I just don't think the cap situation stuff, I don't think they could do anything with him. So they're going to be stuck with Russell Wilson for a little bit. So hopefully they could turn it around. They're just playing sloppy, and they should be beating these type of teams if what type of offense and defense they got on this. They got some good weapons on this defense and offense. So they just really should be way better than they are, and they're just not. So give credit to Washington. Eric Bieniemy, they were always talking how he wasn't calling plays in KC and things of that nature. Now look what he's doing. He's scoring 35 points. He's making this Washington Commanders offense team look good, helping them get W. So give respect to respect's due.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about this game is that the Broncos almost tied it like at the buzzer on the wildest Hail Mary I have probably ever seen. Like, Gary, if you didn't see this play, look it up because it was nuts. Russ just threw that shit up. It bounced off of one Broncos' hands, bounced off a Commander's hands, bounced off another Commander, and into a Broncos receiver's hands in the end zone.
I couldn't believe
2-point conversion, nope.
Yeah, and then on the 2-point conversion, there was pass interference potentially, but what I saw is the pocket not the pocket, but the line completely opened up on the left side.
He could have ran.
Russ of old could have just ran that bitch in those 2 yards. Instead,
we did to you guys many times.
Exactly. That's exactly. I have PTSD from so many years of it, and when I saw that opportunity right there for him, and he doesn't do it, I'm just like, all right, Russ lost them the game. And in regard to Sean Payton, they're going to continue.
He's missing
to
that magic, man.
He's
just missing that magic to him. Sad to see he's missing that magic.
It's gone.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Maybe
Russ
that magic was. What do you call it? Maybe it was that Legion of Boom, I guess. It's looking like Sherman, all them talking about. They're all basically saying it was Legion of Boom that carried him, and now it's looking like, man, bro, you shouldn't have retired after Seattle, and this would have became a Hall of Fame with a bowl, went to 2. You know what I'm saying? Now it's starting to taint the legacy towards the end, which is not a good look. So I'm trying to turn it around, Bucko. Turn it around. We believe in you. Well, I believe. I hope I do. I'm trying to believe.
All right. So, Gary, final game, the other one for Monday night before we close things out with Vonny's Hotline. And this is going to probably be the longest episode that we've had in a long time. But in my opinion, it's been a great one. And we really appreciate Damien Barling for joining us tonight. So, Gary, I mean, do you have any thoughts on the Saints beating the Panthers 20-17, or should we keep it moving?
Yeah, I watched it. I liked Derek Carr, man. He's been putting up W's. I'm glad to see.
Jaevon said, man.
And like the New Orleans is, they're doing good. He's always been a nice, solid quarterback. I feel like just tainted because of just the Raiders being the Raiders. What else? The Raiders just dysfunction in general with all the things they went with Gruden and all the things they did the last few years while he was there. And he was probably the only solid piece they always had. I know he wasn't magical over the top great to take him over the hump to clean the deficiencies, but a team like this where they got some weapons on offense like Agave and things of that nature, and they had a great pass down the sideline to basically seal the deal, and he could still make those throws, and they got a good team around him, and the Saints are looking like a solid team that can make some noise just because the division sucks. So they're going to stamp their ticket to the playoffs. And once you get in the dance, let's see what you're happy. You got a veteran QB, you got some offensive weapons, and shit, in the playoffs, anything can happen. So that's what I think about the Saints so far. It's a good look for them so far. It's a good look to the future.
All right, Vonny, let's hear it. Close us out with Vonny's Hotline, and let's hear the picks because, as I said, ladies and gentlemen, as Jaevon gets the chalk throw ready to go for our audio-only listeners.
Give us this week's picks.
Jaevon had a rocky start, a scratchy start for the word of the night. 1-3 to start the Hotline, 4-0 in week 2, 3-1 in week 3. Could have been 4-0 if not for what you said, a 63-yard field goal to make Kansas State lose. And so Jaevon easily could have been 8-0 in the last 2 weeks. He's handing out free money. I see those of you who are tuned in right now on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. If you're not writing this down, then you're missing out on money. Let's hear your picks for this week, Jaevon.
All right, so we're going to go college. I think I have 3 picks for college. First pick, 9 a.m. start, I think. Florida State at Clemson. Clemson is a home dog at plus 105. I think Florida State's going to freaking beat the dog shit out of Clemson. Clemson is minus 125 on the road. I'm going to go with Florida State money line. I just think Florida State is better. They did kind of slip up a little bit earlier this past Saturday against Boston College. I think Jordan Travis ended up getting hurt here at his shoulder ultimately. I just don't think Clemson has enough skilled players as Florida State. I think Florida State is just they're ranked 3rd nationally right now, and they could arguably be one of the best teams in the country. I think just the combination of Jordan Travis and Keon Coleman on the offensive side for Florida State is going to be better than Cade Klubnik and that Clemson offense. So I'm going to roll with Clemson, or I'm going to run with Florida State money line. It's going to be the first pick. Second pick is definitely going to be later in the day. Oh, man, it's the game that everyone's talking about. Oregon versus Colorado. And Colorado is 21.5-point dogs. There's no way in hell Dion is 21-point dogs, so three touchdowns. There's no way in hell that they're getting blown out by 3 points. This is a ranked game, so it's going to be Colorado is, I think they're ranked 19th, and Oregon is 10th. It is going to be in Eugene. No Travis Hunter in this game. I'm taking Colorado on the points here, plus 21. I just don't think there's a world in hell where Dion's getting blown out by 3 touchdowns. That's against anybody. You could play him against Georgia, whoever. I don't think
even USC.
Even USC, because we're gonna just try and score on each other pretty much, and it'll be a shootout, but no one's getting blown out. 21-point dogs. I'm going with Colorado plus 21 in that game. Now, I did mention earlier in the podcast, got Ohio State on the Ohio State game on the ticket. Ohio State is traveling to South Bend, and South Bend being Notre Dame. I think this is the night game on ABC, if I'm not mistaken, Shaun. I'm Rocco.
You say ABC, NBC.
It's on NBC?
Home. And I think it's on NBC because I'm pretty sure NBC is the exclusive home of Notre Dame. Anyway, I'll fact check that while you give us the pick.
I love Notre Dame money line in this game. I think I've been saying it all year. I don't think Kyle McCord is any good. We'll see how good they are on the road. Notre Dame put up like 45 points on NC State defense, who was actually pretty good. A lot of 4- and 5-star recruits on that D-line for NC State. I think Sam Hartman was kind of the missing piece that Notre Dame was kind of missing all of these years, when them not really having a quarterback, but them having a bunch of skill players that can kind of go up against SEC, Big Ten, those top tier teams. They haven't really had a quarterback that can kind of go into battle with. And Sam Hartman, the transfer from Wake Forest, if I'm not mistaken, has been the guy for them. And I think he's been putting up numbers. And Notre Dame is plus 145 at home. Ohio State's getting 3.5 on the points. I'm going to roll with Notre Dame. I'm going to take them straight up to win the game outright. And if you don't want to get crazy, I think this game is going to be very close. So you could take Notre Dame in the points here, but I think the plus 145 is a little bit juicier. So I'm going to rock with Notre Dame money line here. And I think they have the potential to win by 2 scores. 2 scores being 10 points. I want to see what Kyle McCord is going to look like on the road against a real defense, real team. Kevin's mentioned earlier in the podcast that, they're not putting up all these points. Yeah, you guys put up 60. Okay, yeah. No, Western Kentucky is who you put up 63 points against. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Now,
the game is on NBC. Let's hear the final pick. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to confirm that.
The game is going to be on NBC, so it's going to be a hell of a game. It's probably going to be the best game of the weekend, and that's saying a lot from it being that Colorado and Oregon are going to be playing against each other. Now we're going to go to the Sunday games. Now the lines are still a little bit fresh. You can probably get a little bit of tweakage here and there. But as I am scrolling through here, I'm looking and I am seeing a lot of Gary gave me a line earlier in the pod.
5.5.
It was 5.5 for Baker Mayfield and the Bucks, and right now that looks like the best line on here, and that's what I'm saying right now. I'm looking, and I'm scrolling, and I'm looking. No, I'm gonna rock with that. That's a Monday night game too.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna rock
Tampa Bay plus 5.5.
I think it's gonna be a lot closer game, and everybody could say that I'm screaming at clouds or I'm crazy.
They can't say nothing, Von. You're on fire right now.
I think Tampa Bay is better than a lot of people. You want to get crazy, and they're plus 215 right now on the money line. I'm not saying that they're gonna win, but I'm saying that they might cover. And the Eagles have not really been covering the spread lately. They didn't cover the spread against Tampa Bay. Week 1 against the Pats.
Vikings.
And then
I'm sorry, you're talking about the Eagles. My bad.
Yeah. And even against the Vikings, they didn't even cover the spread either. Because I think that line was pretty big. I think it was like 7 or something like that. And they didn't win by that much. So because of a late touchdown. But I'm gonna roll with Tampa Bay on the points here, plus 5.5. So to recap, we have Tampa Bay plus 5.5. We have Florida State money line minus 125. We have Colorado plus 21, and that's on the road against Oregon. And then we have Notre Dame money line over Ohio State at plus 145. You can get crazy and make that a 5-team parlay and sweat it all out. I'm probably not going to do that, but we'll probably take them in increments. But went 3-1 last week, 4-0 the week before. So if you would have parlayed those picks before last week, at least, you probably would have lost the parlay. But the week before, if you would have parlayed it, you would have won some money. So,
I will. I'm sorry. I will say that you did say last week when I was encouraging everyone to do parlay. You said if I were you, I would do these individually.
Parlay
and if that's the case, exactly, parlay at your own risk. And so with that said, Jaevon went 3-1, as he said last week. Through 3 weeks, he is now at an overall record of 8-4. And so if you're not doing parlays, because again, parlay at your own risk.
Shaun, do you have my picks from last week?
If you're just doing
picks from last week.
Okay, Mr. 7-2, we don't got time for that.
7-2.
If you're just betting each individual game rather than a parlay, Jaevon's 8-4, which is a 66.66666 win percentage, meaning he is winning 2 out of 3 matchups. And so he's winning more than he's losing. What does that mean, Jaevon?
Profit.
Money in everyone's pocket. Exactly.
Fuck you, Kansas State.
So there you go. That's going to do it
loss.
for episode number 51 of Stats Over Politics. We really appreciate our special guest, Damien Barling of ESPN 1920s, D-Lo and KC for joining us.
You guys drove Kevin away, man. You made him scared.
We them boys, man. We them boys. Went after Kevin.
Cowboy fans drove him away.
Sleep drove him away, but it's okay. Like Uncle Manny said, Eagles fans need their sleep. Anyways, that's going to do it for episode number 51 of Stats Over Politics. Thank you to Damien Barling for joining us. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us out a lot. And if you enjoy the show, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on Twitter at Stats or Politics. See all the great content Kevin's putting out there. You can subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you have been tuned in to episode number 51 of Stats Over Politics, for Jaevon, Toddy, Kevin Dent, Gary Singh, and our special guest, Damien Barling, I am Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you all next week on another episode of Stats Over Politics.
Peace.
Steelers got the best team in the league, baby.
I appreciate the